Hello. How's everybody doing? Let me see. Let me get oriented here. I got links and things to do like I normally do in the beginning, but let's see. Today is I just happened upon this debate. I know it was a while ago. It's not like it didn't happen yesterday, but I happened upon it and I watched the first, I don't know, like 10, 15 minutes or so. I don't know exactly how many, but I think it's worth discussing. And this one is really like vocab heavy, so I did have to look some things up ahead of time, and I have notes. So that's gonna be fun. Let me get the chat going because I need the link thing. And oh, come on. Oh, it doesn't like me. It's not doing, the button's not doing the thing. Oh well, I'll do it this way. Oh my goodness. This is broken too. Something is always broken. I think we're gonna be okay though. It doesn't seem like that big of a deal. As long as we got sound and stuff. Oh, that's new. Okay. There we go. It's working, it's working. I don't need that. Do. Get this over here. Oh, I can't see that. This thing's kind of in the way. It's a little better. I don't know, something's different about this. It's like way... Was it always like this? Am I tripping right now? I don't think it was always like that, because it's like right in my line of sight. Like, bam. Like the thing is right where I normally put the chat. I don't know how it normally doesn't bother me, but it's like somebody came, like some kind of gremlins came in the middle of the night and like messed with my stuff. But probably not. That's unlikely. I've already fixed this. Oh my goodness. Okay. I can do this. I know how to do things. Alright. Good evening, everybody. Hello, Phantom. Welcome back. Professor Hizzle. Welcome back. And by the way, I really appreciate the tip at the end of the last stream. Since it was right after the stream ended, I'm gonna go ahead and replay it. I don't get tips a lot, so it makes me really happy. And it's very nice. And I get to try like the thing and see if the thing works. Watch it like not work after all of this hype. Okay. Crossing fingers it works, because sometimes my things don't work. Okay, now that the expectations have been lowered. Oh, it works! Yay! Okay, it matches. I like it. Again, thank you so much. I appreciate it. And I got to use the thing and it looks cool. It's like, okay. Re-examination. Nice to see you. I want like my Q&A after video input. Yeah, I believe that you are in the thing. You are in this somewhere near like the last portion of it. I believe you are in there. So we'll get there hopefully. I don't know, it's a little long for like a weeknight, but we'll see. We'll see if we get that far. That's cool. Welcome back. So nice to see everybody. If you welcomed. Oh, I like the little emojis. They're cute. Stuff not working. All right. Yeah, it is. It's not like a quick. Sometimes they are like 45 minutes, and that's not a big deal. And then sometimes they're 20 minutes, and sometimes they're 8 hours. I think this one is like a medium long. Let me check. Because part of it is the Q&A, so if we don't get to the Q&A, we don't get to it, because sometimes these things take a while. And maybe we'll do the Q&A another day. But I'm sure that does take up at least... I don't know, it depends on the show. Sometimes the Q&A takes up a good portion of the time that the video is. Alright, I gotta do my links, so I don't forget the links. Oh, there it goes. I know what I'm doing. Oh, I ordered a thing. So it's like a little, it's they call it a teleprompter. I didn't know that's how they worked, but it's basically a thing that goes like where the webcam goes, and the webcam goes like inside of it, and it's like a mirror, and then there's another screen. So I can put the chat in that little like mirror thing, and then when I read the chat, it would be like I'm looking at the camera, which kind of freaks me out. So I don't I got this thing. I'm not sure if I'm even gonna end up using it, but I'm gonna try it out probably next time, because I need the backing for it didn't come in. But anyway, long story short, that is in the mail. I think it's supposed to come. Is it like tomorrow? I don't know, but it is supposed to come in the mail soon. I think it's gonna be here before the next stream, and so I can use it like as another monitor, I think, and I can sort of like drag the chat window into it, and so it's like, for me, it's another screen, but it's like where the camera is, if that makes sense. Which I think would be really helpful for the chat and for the kind of recorded episodes, because then when I have my script all written out, I don't get lost and start rambling. I think part of the reason why I had to redo so much of the force doctrine thing that ended up, it started out as like 2-3 hours and it kept getting longer, is because of all this sort of rambling and stuff. And I find that if I have something that's pre-written and I sort of know exactly what I'm going to say ahead of time, that really helps me to sort of go through it instead of doing kind of what I'm doing now. And that's sort of unbearable for the regular short videos. People are expecting something that you like get to the point, and I have a lot of trouble doing that. So I definitely get there. I'll cover the Q&A portion of where I come in with the Q. Oh, okay. With the Q's. Peter's son can't A. That's cute. And one of fast jams. Oh, okay. I don't think I saw that one. Well, if you covered the Q&A portion, then that's even better. We don't even need to cover it. Although I'm definitely gonna have a very different perspective on this one. So maybe it might be worth it someday, but I'd say, why don't we get through the debate first, and we'll see if we can do Q&A or not. Like, we'll see if it's worth it. Maybe the debate itself will be enough. All right, let me do my links here, because I was saying I was gonna do the links and then I wasn't doing them. Naughty. Okay. And I think so there is a like Raging Tomato panel thing going on right now, so I have to remember to not to post in that channel, because they already have a live show going on. I was thinking about joining that one, but since I already had this scheduled, it'd be a little weird to last minute switch it up, so I don't know. But I haven't done panels in a while, so I kind of wish I knew about it ahead of time so that I maybe would have put this one on another night. But it is what it is. I think it'd be good to sometimes do a few more panels here and there, because it gets me out there, and you know, I think that's what you're supposed to do. And I'm doing all the things I'm not supposed to be doing, apparently, or not doing all the things I'm supposed to be doing. I don't know, whatever, both. one or the other. Uh, okay. So the world is falling apart. It's like there's the war in Iran. And by the way, so while I'm doing the links, remember how in that other debate with that lady with the long hair that was all like, we should all get together and make peace and take down the oppressors or whatever. I don't remember exactly what she was saying, but that one, the one that was kind of painful to watch because she was talking kind of like how I'm talking now with all the ums and Yeah. So in that debate, I don't know if y'all remember, but Andrea was like, "Oh, well, there is no war. Where's the war? Where's the war?" And she was kind of pointing out, like, "Oh, well, it's things are heating up. He's been doing bombing this in Iran and doing this in Venezuela, etc." And he was like, "Well, where's the war? It's not a war. It's not a war." And I was so surprised that it was like that same. It was it like the same week? Anyway, within a few days, the war in Iran broke out, and okay, uh, he- and then the other day I noticed that um he posted to his channel a clip of like a long segment of that debate from whatever that includes him being like, "Oh, well, there's not a war in Iran. There's not a war. Where's the war?" Um, and that did not age well at all. And I did see a lot of comments under that particular video that brought that up as well. And I was surprised that he posted it after, what happened. But so some good and some bad. The good thing is that not everybody that watches Wilson is like a complete cultist, like crazy person. Some of them are very reasonable people, and they were like, "Hey, this didn't age well. Hey, there is a war," and it was titled something about like Trump not doing what he promised or something like that, or breaking promises, or I forgot what it was called. And then a bunch of people were saying, "Well, he did, break promises. He did promise this was one of his main things in the campaign was this like, oh, I'm the no new wars president." And here he is starting a new war, probably one of the biggest we'll ever have in our lifetimes if it goes the way it's going, which is awful. And that did not age well at all. And so anyway, the good thing is I'm having trouble blabbing and doing the link thing, but I think I can get this. I can figure it out. It should not be that hard. So there were still quite a lot of people that were like, "Oh, well, it's not a real war. Congress has to declare war." Okay, yeah, sure, technically. But we also called the war in Afghanistan, the wars in Iraq, all of those Middle Eastern conflicts that we have gotten ourselves into, we have been calling those wars because that's what they are. And Congress didn't vote on those either, so well, I think they did vote for the Iraq one of the times at least. I'm not sure. But anyway, we are constantly getting into wars overseas that are, we call them wars because that's what they look like. If it looks like a duck, then it quacks like it, or if it quacks like a duck and looks like a duck, then it's a war. Some angry ducks. Anyway, that's what we call them colloquially. So yeah, sure. Even though the Congress didn't declare war or whatever, we still know that it's called a dang war. And the number of people I saw that immediately started basically licking all the boots, like they were dreaming of boots, and then they woke up and they started like licking boots and typing away in the comment section as they were licking the boots, all about how much they love licking boots, and it was disturbing. So the good news is not all of them are completely hopeless. There are some decent people who are you know, intelligent and point out things when they're like, hey, wait a minute, that doesn't make sense to me. This is a war. I didn't vote for this. This sucks. But then other people kept making excuses and they started falling in line just like that. So, yeah, I guess there's some good and some bad and, well, everything, I suppose. But it was nice to see, at least on the war thing, there are people who are not licking the boots as much and not really buying the bullshit, which is appreciated. And I just thought that was nice. Just. Alrighty. This one. And this one. And this one. And yeah, I mean, all the politics stuff has been so crazy and not really, I don't know, basically most reasonable people are against the war and they're like, hey, Trump, you said no new wars. What's this, bro? What's this? And most people are like, most reasonable people are already like, hey, the Epstein stuff is messed up. Where's the rest of it? And all of that. So I don't know, me adding to what people that are reasonable already sort of think is kind of pointless. So I don't know, covering it seems not that interesting, I guess, since everybody's already covered it many times all over the place. So I don't really have a ton to add in the kind of, I guess, political sphere lately. And the people who are on the opposite side, as in like, yes, war with Iran, I'm pretty sure like half of them are paid, half of them are bots, and half of them I won't be able to convince otherwise. And yes, I realize that's 3 halves, which doesn't work out mathematically, but we're not gonna think too hard about it. Well, I'm not. You can if you want. I have no control over how hard you think about the math issue with the halving situation, with the 3 halves. And my tummy is making the rumblies that only hands can satisfy. I should have eaten before this. Okay. The links are done. Let me get... Oh, where's my other window? I'm always losing windows, I swear. Catch up on chat real quick. Ricknell, welcome back. Oh, I love those emojis, are so cute. Hello. He'll grant it. He'll just grant it. Alrighty. Yeah, no cultists. No cultists either. No cultists over here. This is a cult-free zone. I bet that the war was gonna be quick. Okay, I mean, that's what they said for all of the other ones. And I've already kind of harped on this a few times before, or at least once, but Iran is so much bigger than all the other ones and so much stronger, and they have so many more like allies that are the alliances they have are stronger as well with the other big players. So okay, nice and quick, sure. Trump did well in Syria with that focus strike. We also had that focus strike in Iran a number of years back. Those were effective. Yeah, I'm against all that. The focused or unfocused strikes. Why don't we just not strike and mind our own business? That'd be good. Venezuela is a risk, and the war seems to be going on in terms of dismantling what needs to be dismantled. Yeah, you lick that boot. You lick all the boots. Every time we say Epstein, he's gonna start a new war, Cuba, anyone? You know, it's meant as a joke, I think, but honestly, that might be super true. Super duper true. Def not math. Oh my goodness. Andrew's beefing with Tilly on X, starting to sue her. Oh yeah, re-examination. earlier sent me the thing, I think. Yep, the Tilly stuff. So I heard, thanks to Examination, I appreciate that heads up too, because this is crazy that suing things. So yeah, you can't. If anyone has the full version, I don't know if anyone has like the membership for Not So Right, because it looks like it's a members only thing now. But so the version that Brian posted, it's cut, and obviously you can't say stuff like that. It's completely crazy to say, call somebody that when you don't have evidence for it. So like, okay, obviously that's completely unreasonable, but I do wonder like what led up to that. Is she seriously unhinged enough to sort of randomly say it, or was that sort of some kind of preface of allegations or something? Again, I don't know. I'm curious as to how things escalated that much, or she really is completely unhinged and sort of accuses left and right without any sort of preface or anything like that. But honestly, as I was saying to Examination earlier too, it's like I don't think anything can make it better, but I'm still curious like how that came up. Like how does that even I don't know. If somebody isn't if somebody isn't a consent denier, you can't call people that. That's super messed up. And if you're not sure or you don't have proof, you still can't call people that, even if you somehow have some sort of feeling that they are, because that's not proof. So, yeah, it's completely messed up. Unfortunately, people that are and do some messed up things can still be right about things like force doctrine. So, I mean, the mustache man in World War II, he was all sorts of like the worst of messed up, but he was like what was it that Eddie Izzard said? He was like a vegetarian and a painter. So that doesn't mean that vegetarians are evil or that painting is somehow immoral just because somebody that happened to be kind of a messed up person, well, not kind of, a super messed up person, did all this messed up stuff. It doesn't mean. What's the saying? I think there's a saying for it. Something like, the mustache man had a dog too, or something like that. I don't know. Something about a dog. Destiny's putting his money. Oh yeah, Destiny's putting his money into these bill. Examination coming in with all the juicy drama news. That's been crazy. I do wonder if this goes anywhere, because there's a lot of suing going around with the Sarah suing Andrew and Brian now suing Tilly. I don't know if Andrew's decided to sue Tilly yet, but yeah, I don't know. I guess you can apparently sue across different countries, but I can't imagine that's going to be easy if she's in the UK. I don't know, she sounds super British or something. That's right, I should make the stream public so no one can take it out of context. Yeah, I would like that, but it's also, I can also kind of understand that if you have something like that that went viral and people want to see more of it, it's a good excuse for like, oh, well, why don't you become a member then? And it's a good way to make money, I suppose. So I can't be hating on people getting their what is it people call it now? Bread or dough or whatever. I don't know the slang. She might be high on her own supply for making hay on Charlie Kirk. She may be inflated enough to think she's invincible. Oh yeah, apparently she was one of the people that when Charlie Kirk went to the UK, I think it was at Cambridge, and it did not go well for him. I think when he went to the UK, there were several students that he like completely got owned by several people, if I remember correctly. I would like to revisit that sometime soon, since I think I only watched a portion of it at some point. I don't think I saw the portion that she was in. I think it was like a young man that was kind of owning him at some point. But I don't think I saw the one that she was in. Yeah, capitalism wins. Like, we could jump on those types of things because I know that it's actually hurt their brand. Andrew did tweet that if Tilly apologizes, he will leave it all alone. I'm not surprised. Honestly, that's pretty much a win-win because I don't think he would sue her. Again, suing across countries for stuff like this, it's way more trouble than it's worth, and it's not like she's rich, so like, what is he gonna take her? I don't think she's rich. I'm assuming she's not because I don't know, most people aren't. Unless she's somehow like has family money or something, or happens to have family money. Getting to the bag. Oh, thank you. Yeah, I'm so not up to the slang. Whatever the latest slang is. If Natsardite was a true liberal for the public good, should release the entry for clarity and just turn off the comments section. I agree, but I don't know. I don't think really being a liberal means you are all for public good. But I suppose that's kind of the point, that if she were, then she would. But normally, simply being liberal or not being liberal, I don't think that really has anything to do with you being like, oh, so like unselfish or whatever. I think everybody is, everybody prioritizes themselves, or at least most people do, like themselves and their family. That's supposed to be how people work. There's nothing wrong with that. So I do find it a little bit, I don't know, I don't find it great when people are like, oh, well, it's so selfish to want to make money, and it's so selfish to do this and selfish to do that, because everybody does need to look out for themselves first, because nobody else will. So if you start looking out for everybody else before yourself and put yourself last, that's not gonna end well for you. So, and that's something I'm working on as well. So I know it's not, yeah, it's a weird thing. I'm not gonna harp on it too much. I assume anyone in Oxford or Cambridge aren't poor. She's still a college student, so she has that to worry about too. That makes sense. But I think that they probably have scholarships and stuff, right? I'm saying that where public good outweighs money is moral of a liberal conviction, at least how I see it. Okay. I mean, supposedly, but in reality, most people probably would prefer to make money rather than like share something for the public, is kind of what I mean, I guess. Anyway. Oh yeah, the time moved apparently. Let me get the stream and my notes so we can get into this. No, nobody's sleepy over here. What's that? Is sleep some kind of new thing people are doing? Oh, you know what? Can I do this one? I should be able to do that. There we go. Is it this one? No, it's this one. Oh, of course it's gonna. Okay, there we go. And stretch it out a little bit. Make it nice and big. Oh. Oh my goodness. Don't know what I'm doing. No, I don't. I do know what I'm doing. It's just a little bit. There we go. I'm not sure where I should put myself on this one. Let me go forward a little bit. Yeah, I think there's space for me on there. Sort of to this. Oops. right about... here I am. Move me over here to the side. Does anybody care to see like the clock? I don't know if that's important. I'll just put myself over that. That's probably the least important thing. It ends when it ends. Because he puts like the timed sections and there's a countdown clock for each segment or something. Like for the intros and the like the 5-minute rebuttal or whatever. There's a clock thing and I'm gonna be over it. So not like over it as in like I'm so over that clock, but literally physically on top of it. So if anybody really cared about seeing the clock, I apologize, but we won't be seeing it. But just so you know, there is one. Okay, this is totally not important. Nobody cares. Okay. Oh, come on. Why is it doing this? Scooch a little bit. There we go. Okay. And ta-da! You love clock. Oh. Well, I mean, I can... There it is. I saw it for a second. All right. That's all the clock you get. If you want any more clock than that, I'm sorry. We can't accommodate that. We cannot. Okay. Should we do... I don't know. I guess we can do the intros because it's kind of rude not to. I usually don't like intros because it's sort of... I don't know. They're usually so long, and by the time that they lay out their last arguments, I've already forgotten what their first arguments were, and it's sort of... And then they start talking about kind of... They sort of pick a thing to start going back and forth on. I'm not saying like this one, but basically all debates that have a long intro and a long opening statements and long sort of like the 5-minute rebuttal thing. 5 minutes isn't that bad, but I don't know, it seems like they say a bunch of stuff and then sort of forget most of it and then start going into kind of one thing after another and the back and forth, and then they sort of pick something to start discussing, and then it sort of rolls naturally from there. So I don't know. I'm not a fan of the intros, but we can watch them. I think it's appropriate to do something like that.
Welcome everybody to Swords of Reason right here on the Speakeasy Show. If you're new here, the format is simple. And finally, each side delivers a 5-minute closing statement to lock in their case. When that's done, we move into the 30-minute Q&A. I've already put the Q&A in the chat there. But keep in mind, Superchats, PayPal, Cash App questions, these will get priority. So if they fill up the entire 30 minutes, the free chat questions may not get answered. Cash debate. Today's debate to debateological discussions. There isn't much content up on his YouTube channel yet, but after tonight, that's likely to change. Also on his TikTok, so go show him some support. His let's help fuel the momentum. His channel descriptions, his channel links are in the description. And for the negative tonight, we have Planet Peterson, educated on from, and his step being high whenever.
Sounds good. Thanks again, Easy, for having me. I really appreciate it. It's an awesome opportunity, and thanks to Mr. Peterson for doing this with me. So, yeah, I'm arguing that tag debunks atheism. So what tag is the transcendental argument for God. It goes like this. If X is a necessary precondition for Y therefore X. That's the form of a transcendental argument. In this case, if God is a necessary precondition for knowledge and the transcendental categories that make knowledge possible, such as truth, logic, meaning, information, the self, numbers, if we have those things, therefore God exists. But this isn't just a claim. There's an argument to back it up. The argument is found within the ontological status of these things that we see. If we can see that they are immaterial, universal, invariant, and conceptual, you need a grounding point that is immaterial, universal, invariant, and conceptual. And this is done within the grounding of the Christian God, in my worldview. But in this case, really all we need to debunk atheism is an immaterial, universal mind that created the world. This works through divine conceptualism. If God...
I'm sorry. They'll get into it. I'm not going to pause too much in the openings, just a little bit here and there, because I'm going to let them get into it, because they are going to get to some of the stuff, I'm sure. But I don't know. I don't think you can, like, debunk atheism, because it's like, well, there's no proof that there's a God, so, like, I'm not going to believe in one. That's kind of all it is. You can't, like, debunk somebody not, like, accepting your lack of evidence as proof of, like, it doesn't work. I don't understand, like, I don't really get it. It could be me. Like, maybe it is somehow possible, but I don't really understand that. I don't think that makes a lot of sense. And it's also like, oh, well, if God is a necessary precondition, then God is a necessary precondition, therefore God exists. It's sort of circular, what he was saying earlier, so that's also confusing. I have heard this argument before. I think we covered a debate similar, and well, we'll revisit that one at some point probably too. But it's sort of, I don't know. I'm really surprised this is a thing, because as I've said a bunch of times already, I don't have a problem if people believe in God, but I think it is like a belief, and you sort of believe that this particular book is true and what's in it is stuff that happened, but there's no there for a lot of the really magical, mystical stuff, there's no evidence for it. Like, we can't point at God and like, oh, there's God. Not that, like, specifically pointing at something, like, if you can't point at math doesn't exist, but it's, I don't know. Like, I think it's fine to believe, but once you start trying to rationalize, like, oh, well, God is because science and logic and whatever, I think that's kind of cope. It doesn't make a ton of sense to me. If you want to believe, just believe. That's fine. There's nothing wrong with that. People believe all kinds of things. There's nothing wrong with that. But trying to go and, like, twist yourself into a pretzel to try to justify it, I just don't think there's a need for it. I just don't. It seems unnecessary. Like, just believe in it. It's fine. That's kind of where I'm at with that. I don't know. Is it worth going through it? No, I'm just kidding. We'll still watch it, but I don't know. It's that seems kind of like, okay, book closed, I do listening tonight. We can do a stream about it. It's circular, but not fallaciously. I think you've heard a lot of bad versions of tag before. The best ones are harder to find. Yeah, we can certainly discuss it another time. I do still want to do what's it called, like, panel type things, because I know that seems to be popular and people like doing that. So I think that might be a good topic for something like that. But yeah, it wouldn't be fair if we were to, like, try to argue through comments and I get to speak and you don't. Yeah, that's totally not fair. So I get that. I understand. But we will discuss it at some point. Yeah, for sure. I appreciate that. All right, let's carry on.
Had the idea for the world in his mind and then instantiated that idea through creation, similar to if I have an idea for a home, I have the idea in my head and it exists as an idea, but then it is instantiated materially when I build the home. Now, this is a paradigm level argument. So we are comparing two paradigms, not just any certain point in a vacuum. So when this is brought up against the atheist worldview, which I am taking as any worldview that says there's a possibility that God is not the necessary precondition for these things, you have to look at what kind of metaphysic can actually do the grounding work for the categories that I presented. What kind of metaphysic is necessary to have immaterial, universal, invariant, and conceptual law-like regularities in nature, things that we ground that we ground truth in, that we ground all of our meaningful predication in sentences. We look to the atheist worldview, one of empiricism, sometimes materialism, physicalism, depends on what flavor of atheism you're working with. But within their worldview, they appeal to things that have universality, things that have regularity. They appeal to notions of truth, and laws of logic that require absolute truth, while within their own worldview, there's no metaphysic that can actually account for this. The grounding and starting point they take as presuppositions and axioms. I have a presupposition too. It would be God. In this case, their presupposition is that logic works. We have it. We use it. So we start our worldview from this assumption and then work forward, not recognizing that in order for something like that to be possible, the world has to be aligned a certain way. A very important point is that, I think that what I mean is an argument that they'll use is that it's grounded in their mind, in their own personal experience. But our minds are a particular thing, and they can't ground a universal. And also, they're referencing something in the world. They'll say that the laws of logic, truth is a proposition or a description. But if you're referencing, it's a description of what? Something that's happening in the world. I would argue that this is a property of the regularity of nature. For example, I like to cite the law of identity, that an object is itself and not itself. Our thoughts don't make this the case. We don't create the laws of logic. We discover them. If this is in fact the case, then this regularity in nature existed before humans. This exists if you can have any type of citation of the past pre-human, or if all humans were to, drop dead, objects would still retain their identity over time. This is a regularity that is only presupposed and assumed in their worldview, especially if you look at something like Hume's guillotine that remarks about how probability and induction is actually completely unjustified in the atheist worldview. And this is like one of the godfathers of skeptical atheism making this argument. So this is where the problem lies, is you have notions of immaterial, universal, invariant concepts in a world of chaos and flux that can't actually ground them, and it can't be grounded in their own particular.
Okay, so this is what I meant when I said it had lots of vocab in it, which honestly, I find a little cringe. Like, I sort of understand that some people, especially people that are used to having a lot of discussions in an academic setting where they have a lot of like-minded people and they sort of all use the same sort of jargon and vocabulary, and for instance, if there was a like philosophy thing at a university or something, I would expect them to use a lot of words like that because everybody around them is like sort of into the same stuff and they all kind of know what most of those things are. But when it's these online debates that are sort of for the consumption of the general public, I find it a little cringe to sort of this feels like somebody took a bunch of arguments that are interesting to explore for sure, that should not be limited to academics or anything. That's not what I'm saying. But they took a bunch of arguments that we sort of enjoy discussing and that we should talk about, like why not? And then they took out like some kind of like philosophy bro thesaurus and started turning basic words into these like intelligent sounding ones for no particular reason, just so people would have to go and look a bunch of these up. I guarantee I'm not the only one that is like doesn't know some of these really niche words because I'm not like into philosophy. I didn't study it. I don't know a ton about it. I look things up as I go, and I think that's probably most of the audience. I would be willing to bet money on it, since that's what people are doing nowadays to prove they're really like mean something. Is like, oh, you're gonna bet money on it. So if that's how you do that, okay, we'll join in. So this one is probably kind of basic, but I'm constantly forgetting it. The presuppositionalism is kind of what the whole thing is. So it's like you can't argue for God using evidence or logic because those things are dependent on God existing. So so instead of proving God, you presuppose God, and then you argue that without that presupposition. It's sort of like kind of like assuming something before you get onto something else. I don't know. I always find it. I've heard that word so many times, and I always find it uncomfortable for some reason. But yeah, it is kind of a common one. But there are a bunch of weird ones in here. Lots of philosophy bro stuff. And the Hume's guillotine, that's the is odd thing. I don't know exactly what he said about it, but it didn't sound like that's the one I actually do remember from somewhere, the is odd thing, because I remember think Alex O'Connor talked about it at some point, and so I don't know what he was saying about it specifically there. It went kind of fast, which is fine. I think maybe they'll revisit it, but like, you can't get a not from an is, okay. But I don't know what he was saying. It didn't sound quite like that, so it'll be interesting how he connects whatever he said to that. I don't really want to go back and re-listen because I'm sure they'll get to it. So yeah, I'm obviously not intelligent enough for this debate to go at it without looking up the vocab, which is what I have done. And a lot of these I don't think are really necessary. Like saying something that's like immaterial, invariant, like okay, you can't touch it and it doesn't change. Why not just say that? Why not just say something that is unchanging? Something that's not a physical thing. I don't know. A lot of these seem so unnecessary that, like, why? I don't know. I find those things cringe. I think if those things come, like, again, if it's an academic setting and those things come naturally to you, that's fine. But if it's for general consumption for YouTube, it seems a little like, oh, I know all the big words. You don't know the words. I'm smarter than you. Therefore, my argument is like totally so much more intelligent. And if you don't understand it, that's you're just not smart enough for it because like you don't even know the words. So it's just too bad. I don't get how God grounds the laws of logic. Do they imagine literal laws written in on scrolls in a heavenly spiritual realm? That's what they mean by grounding. That's D&D, not philosophy. Yeah, so I suppose they'll get into it. That's sort of the point of the debate. But yeah, that's the whole thing doesn't make sense to me. It's like you set it up in a way that's like, okay, so these things necessitate, like for these things to exist, you have to have a mind, and that mind has to be God because because why? Like, I don't know. There's a lot of things that are like, sure, if you set it up a specific way and you're like, well, because these things require God, therefore they require God. It seems circular to me, but I'll let them get into it. I'm not going to ramble too much, but I did kind of want to go through some of the vocab as they go through it, but I don't know, these ones are a little rapid fire, and I don't think it's worth like stopping for every single one.
Mind because it's universal. It can't be grounded in the physical because it's immaterial, but if it's conceptual, that requires a mind. So I also believe they're mind dependent. I believe they're dependent on the mind of God. So that would be basically the whole synopsis of the argument. Some common objections that I hear is that it's circular. All paradigmatic worldviews are circular at their ultimate epistemic foundation. There will always be a point of self-authenticating, self-referencing, but we actually have to be able to justify that. To just claim something is axiomatic or a presupposition is not enough, because, you know, if I were to come to a debate where somebody said this argument debunks Christianity, and I said, well, you know what, God is my axiom, God is my presupposition, so I don't have to defend it, it just is the case, that would not be sufficient. So we actually have to account for the entire worldview. Again, it's a comparison of worldviews and which one has the coherence, the explanatory power, the metaphysic to make the things we're appealing to work, not just what I would ultimately consider arbitrary starting points, arbitrary assumptions that make the worldview work, when the metaphysic and the entailments of the entire worldview actually don't make it work. So this is something I can demonstrate in argument, something that we'll be getting into. I can also demonstrate how this isn't possible in the atheist worldview. I can get into that through argumentation and the logical entailments of their position. What else do we got? I would say that while it's not entirely irrelevant to the conversation, I think that especially when I'm having a more of a discussion, not a debate with an atheist, I will say, look, we're looking for an immaterial universal mind that created the world. Now, which immaterial universal mind that created the world that is?
Why are you looking for that in the first place? Like, I don't see, like, okay, if you're looking for a specific thing and you're like, okay, here's the properties of the thing I'm looking for, and you're like, oh, look, I happen to find the thing that I'm looking for, but it's not that I found it. It's more like, because I said this thing had to exist because I'm looking for it, it has to exist out there somewhere. That's like, I don't see how that's not like begging the question when you're like, oh, well, where is this particular thing that has properties A, B, and C? And that has to exist because it has to be somewhere. But for what reason? Like, I'll let them.
Has a point of relevancy, but I'm really looking for the argument from the atheist position, not a battle of, well, what if it's Islam? What if it's not Christianity? What if it's Spanky?
Tag is either an argument or it's comparing worldviews. It can't be both. Hello, Brandon. Welcome back. Nice to see you again.
For example, I've seen that one. So, this is while I think that the question of which God it is relevant, if the atheist doesn't even accept the necessity for any God, any immaterial universal mind that created the world at all as a precondition for these categories, then I think that it's not germane to this debate specifically. Definitely
it's not germane. See, this is what I mean. Why not just say it's not relevant? Everybody knows what relevant means. What the hell's germane? I have never, in my entire life, I have never heard the word germane. I haven't. I don't know where these are coming from. I'm sure that I'm sure. These words do exist. It means relevant. I don't know why, I don't know of anyone that I would expect to, know the word germane and sort of use it in their regular speech. The only reason that I could see anyone using that word, I literally have never heard it in my entire life. It's not like, sometimes you hear words and you're not sure what they mean, but you at least have heard somebody say it at some point, it sounds familiar. You may not be sure, but it sounds like a familiar word. This does not sound familiar to me at all. I have never heard the word germane. And I'm like, this is what I mean. Why not just say relevant? Why pull out a thesaurus or something and replace regular words with really weird ones? Is this some sort of obfuscation tactic or something? I don't know. I can try to answer all these questions if you write them down. I'm down to attempt to answer your questions on it. Jermaine is the most relevant Jackson brother of the Jackson. Brandon's username glitched on video. Oh. Wait, what? Really? It looks okay. What's wrong with it? Oh, I'll take your word for it. Why is germane to the discussion? Cool way to say German. Oh yeah, following the row. Welcome back. Nice to see you. Nice to see everybody. Yeah, this is what I mean. Why?
Going to push for the atheist response, because what I've found is that it's actually not possible. In fact, we argue from the impossibility of the contrary, that you need this metaphysic in order to make this work. And with only 2 minutes and 42 seconds on the clock, I'm going to concede my time. That's about all I got.
All right. Thank you for that opening statement. And with that, we'll hand the mic over to Planet Peterson. And whenever you're ready for your opening statement, I will start the timer up with your voice.
Sure. First, I want to say, hail Spanky, praise Spanky. I didn't plan on bringing up Spanky at all tonight, but that's really funny. So, okay. I just essentially have notes here, so this won't necessarily be the most elegant opening statement ever, but I'm going to do my best. The actual topic of the debate, which we can all see, it's down there, is that tag debunks atheism. Now, to me, I don't think you can prove that something is wrong just by definition. I mean, if I could just make up a term and say, zip-zop proves that blank exists or does not exist, or that blank is impossible. Now, that's just analytically true in this case, but nobody would accept that that actually has contributed to any kind of epistemology, because there's no way to tell the difference between making it up and if it's real, unless there's some sort of real investigation that we can take part in here. So I don't think that tag debunks atheism, because it doesn't do any of that work. It challenges certain...
Oh, by the way, I know I covered the epistemology stuff in a previous video, but I know not everybody watches everything. That's the study of knowledge. And I hear that one a lot in debates too. And it's also I don't know. I know a lot of people use it, so it's not as uncommon as germane. It's not a lot of people do use this one, but I don't know. I don't like it. It's philosophy bro stuff, and I understand that like this is philosophy, but it doesn't feel like a regular Joe kind of thing. I don't know.
I mean, because it's just
Again, all the philosophy debates use it, so I can't be complaining too much, but I don't like it. It's a personal ick. Whatever. Take it or leave it. Why should we favor a coherence theory of truth I can't speak. A coherence theory of truth over a foundational or pragmatic theory of truth? Do they get this from the Bible or the church? I don't know what either of those mean, but maybe if they discuss it or something.
just a worldview. It's just some presuppositions, which everybody has to have some. It challenges account.
And yeah, I mean, at some point, you do have to, like, assume that something exists, because you have to at some point assume something, and that's sort of remember the whole like Agrippa's trilemma thing that we got hung up on from last time. That's one of the things. Like at some point you have to assume something, or else you can't like reason. Like you can't possibly reason all the way down to the base of like reality itself. Like you don't even know if reality is real. Like it's impossible to know for sure whatever the grounding for whatever is. So that's the whole. And I know that the Agrippa's trilemma has been a thing in the previous debate, and that's it sort of fits in with that. Like you have to presuppose something at some point. It's all a matter of like, what is it that you're going to be presupposing? I don't want to assume anything exists, Mom. Is that from something? I'm too young to be a mother to such an adult child.
It's for things like logic, reason, normativity. Sometimes this goes into the can you even have knowledge, and that didn't get brought up in the opening statement. So I hope it doesn't go down that road, because I find that to be kind of a really boring version of it.
Maybe that was meant to have quotes around it. That would make a lot of sense then.
Claims like logic, truth, reason, morality, they're objective, universal, invariant. Again, these are just the worldview claims that are built in, and these things allegedly require a grounding. The claim is that only a necessary, rational, immaterial mind, which would be a God, can do that. Therefore, atheism can't account for rationality. So it's not an empirical argument at all. It's like a metaphysical grounding. So I don't understand. We're going to have to, hopefully in the back and forth, we could get into how can you establish that you have proven something is false just by giving me your metaphysical grounding, because metaphysics is not provable. No metaphysical idea is really provable or disprovable, perhaps unless it like literally contains a logical contradiction. And the biggest problems with tag are that it is literally just a starting point. It literally is just presuppositions, and it assumes what it is trying to prove. And then the whole idea about appealing to God's existence, I just don't think that even can explain normativity, necessity, universal logic, because existence isn't a predicate. It contributes nothing to.
Normativity is rules about how things should be, not just how they are. Like you ought to be logical is an example of a normative claim.
Epistemology, saying that God exists doesn't actually lift anything up. It's just a brute claim that terminates right then and there and does no additional work. So I took some notes during the opening statement here, so I'll just kind of respond to them. And then maybe for the rebuttal, my opponent can respond to my responses. If X is a necessary precondition, Y, therefore X. If God is a necessary precondition for logic claims, etc., and we have them, then God exists. I highly suspect that this is affirming the consequent. I was kind of furiously typing it out, so I'd have to get that. I'll try to work on that a little more. But if the argument affirms the consequence, then it's not logically valid. It can't be guaranteed. There was also the claim: if God had an idea for the world and then instantiated the claim or instantiated that idea, then the subject changed. So I
don't know. He kind of explained what it was before saying it, but affirming the consequent is the logical fallacy that if you say like, if A then B, and then you say, well, B therefore A, and it doesn't work the other way back. So that's the fallacies, because it logically doesn't work backwards like that. You ought to be logical hits real close to the line of questioning in my Q&A. Oh, okay. That's interesting.
So that thought was not
I'm getting spot on here.
finished, so I don't know what that's supposed to be, but I think the most damning and revealing thing about that is how it begins with if. If we're just imagining things, then we're not debunking anything simply just by imagining that something could be the case. My opponent here asked, does atheism contain a necessary fact that grounds the regularity of nature, truth, etc.? I can create whatever necessary fact I want. I could say nature, I could say reality, I could say the universe is the necessary precondition for it, for no more or less arbitrary of a reason than declaring that God, which is determined to remain invisible in every single way, which is why we can't do any empirical investigation into God. We can only define God's characteristics and then claim, therefore, blank, which is inconvenient. My opponent said that atheism has a presupposition, but that doesn't work. They start from an assumption and work forward. Is that not exactly what you are doing by giving the tag argument? It would be really weird if atheists were for some reason not allowed to do this, or if it would be invalid or illogical for atheists to do exactly what you're doing. Another statement that was said was, whatever atheists apply to, it pre-exists humans. So like the ground, like maybe an atheist takes a Neoplatonic concept of these things, so they exist eternally or whatever. Maybe they ground it in nature, the universe and its physical constants or whatever have been around for the entire history of the universe, which predates humans. That was said by my opponent here, and then he went on to say, it's only assumed or presupposed. Well, again, is that not exactly what you do? So if atheists aren't allowed to do these things, I don't understand what we're really even doing here, or what makes the other position privileged in any way. The only couple things that I was able to write down that I heard were, my opponent claimed that, I just wrote, claimed it can't be grounded. I'm assuming whatever we're appealing to for the ability for us to have intelligibility about the universe or to know things or whatever. Why can it not be grounded? I didn't hear any justification for that apart from impossibility of the contrary, which is just to say you're wrong because you can't be right, which is really not a very good strategy, I don't think, and doesn't actually determine anything. And the last thing was, what I wrote down was, you said something to the effect of, I'm looking for a universal mind to ground the world. Well, okay, but an atheist wouldn't be doing that. So, I mean, and then you said, if the atheist rejects this precondition, then it's not conducive to the debate, or germane is the word you used. I think conducive means about the same thing. I'm really curious as to why we would go there, why you would have a debate with an atheist if you're going to tell the atheist, look, we're here to debate, and you think it is sourced in a different something other than a mind, but what I'm looking for is a mind. I was like, yeah, but your opponent disagrees with you on that. So if my position even can't be constructive for the debate, then I guess I just don't know why we think that, or why that was said, or why that was brought up. I am out of notes, so that's basically all I have.
All right. Thank you for that opening statement. With that, that's gonna.
Yeah, I mean, he covered some of the things like, oh well, if you're looking for something, then yeah, I'm not gonna repeat myself too much, but I think I generally agree with Peterson on this one. That's not surprising, but I'll let them kind of get through the rebuttals and whatever, so we can get to the main of it. I'm not gonna try to pause it too much because this is gonna take forever otherwise. The question to ask empiricists is, if they used empiricism to decide if empiricism was correct, empiricism can't claim transcendence.
Gonna wrap up opening statements, and we're gonna move into the 5-minute uninterrupted rebuttals. So we're gonna hand the mic back to Eli. So Eli, whenever you're ready for your 5-minute rebuttal, I will start the timer up with your voice.
Okay, sounds good. I will also confess that this is the first time that I didn't pre-write an opening statement. I was feeling cocky, and then we went live, and I got a little bit of the haven't been live in a while nerve. So I made a couple of mistakes in my delivery of my argument, but now that we're getting into it and I have some points to address, I think I can iron it out and make things a bit more clear. If I said if God is a necessary precondition, that was a mistake. That was not how I meant to use the transcendental argument. X is a necessary precondition for Y therefore X. Total, language mistake on my part, but that it's not an if statement. So forgive me if we can scrub that. That was a total mistake. So it's God is the necessary precondition. X is a necessary precondition for Y therefore X. So what I'm asking for what Tag is looking for is a justification from the atheist position that can actually show how the why in this case is possible within their worldview. Given, and this is something that when we get into open dialogue, I want to clarify is the position from Peterson, that the ontological status of the conditions that make up the possibility of knowledge. I did actually in my opening statement reference knowledge and the transcendental categories that make it possible. So that's definitely where I'm going to go with it. It's things like truth, things like logic, meaning, information. All of those things are part of the system of how anybody gets knowledge. I don't think you and I would deny that. And I think you would also agree that there's a retorsion aspect to, you can't deny logic because to do so would be using logic. You can't say there is no truth because that would be a truth claim, you see. What Tag is almost like another retorsion argument. That argument works for the atheist if they're going up against somebody that denies logic or truth wholesale. But what it doesn't do is explain that, okay, I grant that you use this. I don't think that, Planet Peterson is void of logic or reason, but I don't think that his worldview can give an account for it based on the ontological status of the categories that are in question. So when we compare the two worldviews and you compare it to the theistic worldview that says, actually, we have one starting point, but this starting point gives a...
Yeah, by the way, the ontological status, what something is at its most basic, if it's physical, mental, or abstract. Oh, and he also says that truth is immaterial and universal, which we already covered the immaterial. That one's kind of self-explanatory. But okay.
Coherent, gives coherency, explanatory power, and a justification for the possibility of these things at all in relation to the ontological status. Again, immaterial, universal, invariant, conceptual, in a universal, immaterial, invariant mind whose nature is ultimate.
We already covered the immaterial is not physical and invariant, doesn't change. If something is like variable, it would like changing in opposite of.
The highest point of logic, the highest point of truth. When we get into the cross-examination of a worldview that posits that these things are possible without this being, without this God as a starting point, it's kind of like the retorsion argument, where if you try to say logic doesn't exist, well, you're using logic to do it. If you try to say that, well, yeah, I believe that logic is universal, but there's absolutely nothing in your worldview which could ground and justify something being universal at all, that's where the debunking comes in. So I wanted to clarify that, and I tried to write some notes about the other points. When I said he's making a starting point and going forward, yes, again, a little bit of nerves. Of course, I'm doing the same thing. We all have epistemic foundation. What I'm saying is that what is picked as a presupposition or an axiom, or maybe not even picked, but deduced, it becomes arbitrary in their position, again, because it's not justified. Now, some might say it's a presupposition. By definition, it doesn't need to be justified. But when you're looking at something like a self-evident axiom, for example, you have to actually look at this and say, okay, this here is a self-evident principle, and there's other principles over here that aren't. Now, you've just created a criteria for this to be self-evident. And in your worldview, there has to be a justification for that move. I'm not saying that my opponent's doing this at all. We haven't gotten into the debate, but some things that I've heard is people act like saying something's an axiom or a presupposition is like putting a force field around it and saying it can no longer be critiqued. So of course we both have our starting points. What I'm saying is if this is paradigmatic worldview comparisons, where we're taking the entire scope of the opponent's worldview into consideration, we do an internal critique, we compare the coherency, and there's 3 points of a worldview, metaphysics, ethics, and epistemology. And ours has a coherent justification for it, and anything the contrary, this is the impossibility of the contrary, it doesn't.
All right. Thank you for that rebuttal. And with that, we're going to hand the mic back to Planet Peterson. Whenever you're ready for your rebuttal, I'll start the timer up with your voice.
Guest services says the guy on the left, that's Eli, brought up problem of induction and the is-ought gap, but Tag doesn't solve those problems either. Just introducing a metaphysical entity that grounds logic doesn't solve these problems. And our examiner says Tag does solve both, but you have to target more theologically specific than Eli does in this debate.
Sure, maybe like 10 seconds because I'm just typing something here. I didn't like I'm going to beat you up. Don't worry about it. Parody of not didn't really get is. I think we can have knowledge about things, even if I don't have an ultimate referent, a bedrock, brute, ontological grounding or whatever for something. I can still acquire knowledge about things. So ancient people knew all kinds of things about the natural world that were true, even though they didn't know the science that we know today. And if God exists, then presumably virtually all of the science we know today, like the very sophisticated physics, the biology and the stuff we know about the weather is still all true. Now, if you're going to claim that the fact that its existence or the ability to make those claims or whatever is grounded in God, or that he sustains it or instantiates it or whatever, then that doesn't actually undermine my ability to, devoid of using God in my formulation, come to any of that knowledge in a completely secular way. I don't think any Christian does Christian math or Christian science or Christian logic or anything like that when they do these things. So when we're retreating to the ultimate grounding of it as the account, again, what are we actually contributing to knowledge by doing that, and what are we actually proving that is false? Because certainly, even if God exists, the secular science is still true. So what exactly is going on there? There's an old, I can't remember, I think it was John Locke who made this argument. It might have been Kant, but I want to say it was John Locke. I don't remember exactly, but he makes the argument that, which I think is a pretty good way to undermine the presuppositionalist tactic, which is God would have to create humans with moral and logical instincts that they have on their own, that they can do on their own. Now, granted, it's given to us by God, but we purely use our own human reasoning, and God doesn't enter the equation anywhere in there. So it doesn't, we don't actually use God in the formulation. It's all just down to us. Because if that wasn't the case, then even if God exists, we couldn't know it. We couldn't know moral truths, or we couldn't know logical truths, and we could never come to the understanding that God exists. The only alternative to this is to say that God does do all of our thinking for us, which would make God's behavior pretty obviously immoral, I feel. So if purely by human reasoning we can do and understand these things, then I think that kind of does damage for the tag presupposition. I think how.
Have you watched Tim Bob and Eli's debate against Ask Yourself? It was brutal. Highly recommend. I'm not sure who that is. That sounds interesting. Was it like 2 against 1, or? I know that there have been like, I know Peterson has done debates on this exact topic with was it Jim Bob? Yeah, it was Jim Bob, and then Jim Bob did this topic with a bunch of people. And then the one that I kind of pointed out earlier, at some point they get to something here, which is what made me pause and be like, okay, we have to cover this because it's kind of funny, is when we covered that Jay Dyer versus Gnostic Informant debate. I know we did like probably some portions of it, if I recall correctly, but he did that whole like the one of many thing, and that's when I was like, okay, we got to cover this. And so many things in this particular debate have been argued before in the same circles in basically the exact same ways, and even against the same person. Like Peterson and Jim Bob did basically almost word for word a lot of these arguments, so it's a little weird that way. It's like this seems to come up and people seem to keep saying the same stuff on both sides, and nothing gets resolved, of course. Jim Bob wouldn't do it the way I would do it either, but I'd love to check that out. Hello, welcome back, Tom. Well, if it isn't YouTube streaming, I don't know how to say that word. I'm sorry. Hello. It started out as just Jim Bob. He rage quit, and then Eli stepped in. I'll link it, and you just scored. Oh, thank you. I appreciate that. That sounds fun. I wanna see a rage quit. Rage quits are always the best. That's why shows like Whatever label anybody leaving casually as rage quit, because people want to see rage quits. And so if somebody happens to walk away, they're like, oh, rage quit, and they put it in the title and people watch it, and it's like, oh, she sort of like walked out because it was late and it wasn't a big deal. Like sometimes they really realize, oh, I'm so sorry, it's really late, I have to go, I have something really, and they sort of like casually leave, and they're like rage quit, as if they're like flipping tables and throwing stuff everywhere and screaming like, oh, I can't take this anymore, and like run out the door, smashing through it on the way out. Like so you think that's rage quit. But I know that, like, colloquially speaking, when people say it online, it sort of means like somebody gets frustrated and gives up, and those are always so fun. Quaithy Quaithi is a Game of Thrones character. Look it up. Oh, I don't even know how to try to pronounce that. I started watching Game of Thrones back when it was coming out originally, the show, not the books, and I think I got through a few of the seasons, and it kept going on and on and on. They kept killing off all the people, and it was like most of the content was like, oh, look, titties, oh, look, like gore and whatever, and dragons, but not really, and winter's always coming. I don't know. It was. I know a lot of people really love that show, and I liked it at first too, but I just eventually got sick of it and I stopped watching, and I never finished it. I was pretty invested for the first several seasons, and I was like, okay, this isn't going anywhere. Like, I'm sure eventually winter came and they did the stuff and probably killed off more main characters, but that's where I'm at with that, in case anybody cared. In case anybody was wondering my feelings on Game of Thrones. Presuppositionalism. That's true. People are quick to call it rage quit coping, trolling, seething. Calm down is my favorite. I love it when people say calm down, but they're like often the ones that are also not calm. It's like, no, you calm down. No, you calm down. That's a hot take about Game of Thrones. I'm gonna rage quit now. Oh no. Jyoti is sex, marry, kill the series. That's a good description too. Jim Bob is a calm down specialist. Yeah, that seems like, I don't know. It seems like a lot of people that are in the same sort of circles have like word for word the same tactics. It's a lot of them are literally word for word the same. It's like, okay.
Basically, the only claim that was made that I wrote down was atheism doesn't have an ontological grounding. Again, I just don't think that that's really what would be the word? I don't know how you can really stand on that, because I could be a Neoplatonist. Platonism is absolutely a secular ontological grounding metaphysic. I could simply believe that moral facts exist. For
I guess he's kind of describing it. So, Platonism or Neoplatonism in ethics is that moral facts, logical truths, and math exist as abstract eternal things. So you don't need God to maintain them. They sort of are. Like, just are. So, vocab. Jimbo telling Delon to stop crying on his own show was hilarious. I don't remember that one. Oh, if you find a link to that, I'd love to see that too.
For example, I could ground it in the universe. That is an ontological thing that we exist, and I'll just arbitrarily label it.
This is about as far as I got, is like this particular discussion here
As necessary. And I actually have a strong suspicion that some of these that what I'm laying out there kind of is the case. Separate ontological groundings for these things, even if God does exist, because does God know that murder is wrong? Well, then it's a fact with ontological status, and it doesn't come from God. It's something that God knows. Does God know that 2 + 2 = 4? Well, then it's a fact with ontological status. And I'm out of time, but that's pretty much all I had anyways.
All right.
I think that one is the one. So this is another one that recently has come up. So in the debate with the really long one that we covered recently with Not So Erudite and Wilson, when she went on about the whole like Agrippa's trilemma thing, she also at some point does mention the Euthyphros dilemma, where it's like, if is it good because God does it, or does God do it because it's good, like that sort of thing. So this is kind of a similar thing. Does God know that murder is wrong? If yes, then it's independent of God. It's just a fact. It's like, does God know basic things about math, like 2 + 2 = 4, kind kind of similar stuff here. So if God knows truths, then they exist on their own. You don't need God for them to exist. They are independent. But if God decides what truths are, then it's arbitrary.
Right. Great rebuttals from both sides. Before we move into the open hour back and forth,
I really gotta get some like WD-40 or something for the squeaky chair. Every time that I'm doing a stream, I notice it, and it's really bugging me. I'm like, okay, I gotta remember to do this. And I even say it, because if I say something, I'm more likely to remember it. And then I completely forget as soon as the stream ends. Because normally I don't really think about it. It doesn't bother me. But it's only on streams when I know it's like sound is important in general. Because if I'm by myself, it doesn't matter. Like, I never noticed like squeaky chair or whatever. But now it's like, it's been a running thing for at least, I don't know, at least a month or two now. The damn squeaky chair. It's driving me crazy. Fun fact, I was introduced to the sphere of the internet through Speakeasy, was even a mod there for a while until he started his witch hunt phase where he harassed genuine trailer park trash. I spurged out. Oh, okay. Well, that's interesting. Witch hunt phase. I know that there was some drama with like him and basically everybody else going after Sarah, but that's been a lot of people. Like it was basically like, I don't know, like a dozen channels at the same time, sort of like going after her. I'm kind of glad that's mostly over now. I don't really hear people talk about it anymore, but also I haven't really been watching a lot of the more like drama-y things more recently. Phantom, you're back. I can show you the My Religion speedrun segment that covered the Euthyphro dilemma and all of the other belief systems. I haven't heard or noticed your cheer yet. Oh, okay, hopefully it filters it out. I hear it, and to me it's like nails on a chalkboard, because I'm like, oh, that's gotta be so annoying. But if it's not something that's obvious to y'all, then I won't worry about it too much. Because I try not to, like, I've also been more careful about like banging on the table or like setting objects down, because when I first started streaming, I didn't realize how much like that mattered, and I got like a mat thing to like rest my hands on and stuff, and like you used to be able to like hear my Fitbit like bang against the table all the time and things like that, and I didn't even know. I was oblivious. So ever since I noticed that like little sounds and things matter, I try to be so much more careful about things like that. By witch hunt, I mean that he was pushing drama with that Nicolina character. I don't know who that is. I think that's way before me as well, which is way before he even came close to the Raging Tomato and Drew. Okay, I didn't know that. Yeah, that's way before me, because I'm sort of, I think 2025 was like the first year. This last year is like when I started running around these particular circles, I suppose. Yeah, I have no idea who that is. But nice to have you.
let me talk to the audience real quick. If you're watching right now, theology, anything where, and all job questions, do you really want active and start the.
And some of the argument was being missed. Tag is not just a presupposition; it's an argument, which I believe serves as a form of evidence for the necessity for a God. In your rebuttal, you cited I, the self, knowledge, reasoning, and truth. Okay, all of those things are within the question that Tag is asking of a non-theistic position. Like, this isn't to be uncharitable, but it is the entailment of the argument. I'm not granting you that within your worldview. Now, again, I recognize that these things are real. So I'm not saying that you as an individual in this debate are not capable of, making a logical argument, using logic, using reason. But I'm saying that if your worldview was the case, if your worldview was true, you wouldn't be able to. So when you say, well, look, we can come to the truth of things, that's begging the question that's being asked by Tag. What we're saying here is that these things that you're appealing to exist in a type of way and need a specific world in order for that to exist. That's where the debunking comes in. if you disagree, then we're looking for the justification for these things within your worldview that allows for things to be universal, immaterial, and conceptual. And yet in a world that had, and invariant, especially laws of logic that behave within the regularity of nature in a law-like way, but yet the atheist empiricist worldview posits that everything came from flux, everything came from randomness, accidentalism, determinism, whatever flavor, teleological, right? So how can that kind of world give you things with this type of ontological status unless you disagree with any of those criteria of the ontological status, which we can get into?
Yes. So I'm going to address two things there. I'll try to do a back and forth here. So I kind of find this claim that if my world, so like you fully admit, well, yeah, an atheist can do logic. They can do like math or science. They can know things or whatever. Like you admit, it would be really ridiculous to say otherwise. But then you say, if your worldview were true, you couldn't do these things.
Right.
Now, what I'm confused by this is, let me draw a comparison here. I'm reading this book about the development of science in the West, going all the way back to about 500 BC, and I'm currently doing research on the mathematics from that time, because I was curious as to what kinds of math could they not do that we can do today. So they had these philosophical ideas about mathematics that made them literally incapable of doing what we can do today. They didn't have a zero. They said that decimals are not a thing, so they couldn't multiply, add, subtract decimals. They didn't believe in the existence of negative numbers. So their philosophy literally made them incapable of doing algebra and coordinate planes and reflecting over axes and things like that. But whatever my worldview is, so if what you're saying is true, that I couldn't do these things in my worldview, well, I have a secular worldview and I can do them. What I would expect is like the philosophy of those ancient mathematicians. Yes, they were literally incapable of doing math and science that we can do today because they had the different philosophy. You and I have almost like diametrically opposed philosophies, but I can still do epistemology just like you can. So why am I able to do it even though I assume God doesn't exist?
Because he does exist. That's what the whole argument is. So it's very similar to the.
Then why would you claim if my worldview were true, I couldn't do it?
Because if your worldview were true, and again, I know you take a kind of almost agnostic atheist thing where
because he does exist, that doesn't. The more I think about it, the more it's like, how can that's so circular.
You're not making a declaration there is no God. I'm focusing in on the claim that it's possible that the universe has no God. Okay, so that is in itself a type of positive claim. It's a type of presupposition that comes with a slew of metaphysical baggage, right? So you're saying that there could be a world where there is no immaterial universal mind to ground immaterial universal concepts. And I'm saying in a form of retorsion, just like you can't deny logic because you'd be using logic to do so, to deny an immaterial universal mind while appealing to an immaterial universal concept is a type.
Retorsion is another one that it's one of those like vocab things. I've never heard that used before, but that one is the argument strategy itself of you catching someone in a performative contradiction. So like if I speak like, oh, I can't speak, but like you literally hear me doing it, like that's performative contradiction. So that this is the strategy of making the argument that you catch someone doing it and like, oh, like that's a performative contradiction. So it's like that's such a niche word again, like that's to me that's on the level of like, what was the other one, germane. Like, why just say like, oh, that's a performative contradiction? Why do you like need to name like the thing you this is like this is kind of tag is an argument that justifies arguments. Peterson doesn't realize he's saying you can only do these things because my worldview is true. Tag is just an assumption that other positions are worse, therefore Christian positions better. It's kind of a Pascal wager, really. I have heard that word before, but I don't know what that is either. Y'all are not helping me with the vocab stuff. Now I have to look up what that is. At least that's my charitable interpretation, because I think it's gibberish. When Dyer elaborates on Taki, basically just Sorry, I had to do it. It's a habit now. It's stuck. Mesmerize and waterboard his audience with a 30-minute explanation that just confuses and captures susceptible minds. Definitely a learning curve that audiences are initiated with. There's a few steps to understand tag that aren't often, if ever, spoken before the debate begins. Pascal's wager, you risk losing if you don't believe and you lose. Oh, okay, yeah, that sounds familiar. You risk losing if you don't believe and you lose nothing if you believe and happen to be wrong. Thank you. All right.
Type of performative contradiction.
But that's only because you start with the claim that it's not possible unless God's mind exists and instantiates and substantiates.
No. I'm making a
grounded.
demonstration, though. Again, this is why I wanted to ask you, do you agree with the ontological status of these things as I presented them? Immaterial, invariant, universal, and conceptual.
So are you asking me if logic is a
logic, truth, any of these categories I've listed? We could do logic, truth, meaning. Any of these things would do. I think they all share. So you don't believe they have that ontological status?
No, and the most common example I give is temperature. So if you have a container of gas, it has a temperature. But you cannot have temperature without that medium. It's substrate dependent. If you remove all of you can't remove all of the temperature from it and have it exist somewhere else. You can't remove all of the particles and leave the temperature sitting there in the container or whatever.
Right.
So no, I do not view that logic is something that exists somewhere that we borrow and we start doing it. I think it is merely, I think formal logic is entirely grammatical, essentially.
Okay.
And logic in general is just a description of human reasoning.
Okay, so your grounding is in grammar.
No.
Okay, you said it's entirely grammatical. So is logic, is it identical to grammar?
When people like perform or are doing formal logic, it is merely a grammatical exercise.
But this isn't talking about the doing of logic. This is talking about the possibility of logic, specifically the laws of logic. I'm really narrowing down to 3 classical laws, especially like my example with the law of identity. They're like you would posit that this is descriptive. Well, descriptive of what? Would you agree that it's descriptive? Okay, well, again, that's a metaphysical claim. I have no clue what you mean by that. Do you mean a group of particulars?
So is tag.
Well, no, because I can give a demonstration that has explanatory power and coherence.
Group of particulars. See, this is what I mean, like this whole like particulars. Why not just say like, individual specific objects? Like, why not just say like a group of specific things? Group of things, just things. Why not just say things? Just, this is like, why? It's so cringe. That one's not for me.
I don't believe that you can. And that's why I'm asking, when you say the universe, that's a broad metaphysical claim. Are you talking about just a group of unrelated physical particulars? Is that what that means?
I just mean like the universe, like essentially nature. But
that's another broad metaphysical claim.
Yeah, so is tag.
No, tag is an argument. You just said nature. I'm asking, what is nature? A group of unrelated material particulars? That's a yes or no question.
It's an argument but it doesn't do. It's just metaphysics. That's what the argument is.
I know. I'm asking for your metaphysics
about what
is the universe. You said it's grounded in the universe.
A set of all things that exist.
So again, I'm asking you: is that a set of unrelated material particulars? It's just a question.
Well, the universe would be singular.
So it's just one thing. So there's not many things in the universe.
Does this remind you of something? Because, oh my goodness, this is exactly the thing that the J. Dyer Gnostic informant did, and I think this is like, I don't think we went over that whole debate. I think it was basically this particular part of it is the one that we happened to cover because it was so like, which one is this? 1 second. Is it this one? And this is the chimp up one. Let me find that real quick. I just had it. Just do. Let me play it for a minute while I do that.
Well, yeah, but that would just be the like set theory. I am.
Oh, this is the problem with
one being, but I have 2 hands.
Right. So I'm asking what you're referring to. So again, now you're making this claim about you're making an umbrella term, but that thing, the universe, that's not verified empirically.
You don't think that the universe exists is an empirically demonstrable claim?
No, but this is what I meant by the starting points. Is you're saying we come to knowledge through empiricism, and that's how we can know things, like how I know the universe. But the universe isn't encompassed in the purview of empirics. This is Hume's guillotine.
I'm not really sure. Say it again. I'm not sure what you mean by that.
Okay, so
wait, what?
you're like,
I am.
Oh, this is the problem with the one
being, but I have two hands.
Right. Right. So I'm asking what you're referring to. So again, so now you're making this claim about you're making an umbrella term, but that thing, the universe, that's not verified empirically.
You don't think that the universe exists is an empirically demonstrable claim?
No, but this is what I meant by the starting points. Is you're saying we come to knowledge through empiricism, and that's how we can know things, like how I know the universe. But the universe isn't encompassed in the purview of empirics. This is Hume's guillotine.
That's not. So again, Hume's guillotine is you can't get an odd from an is. That doesn't sound like what he's covering.
By the starting points is you're saying we come to knowledge through empiricism, and that's how we can know things, like how I know the universe. But the universe isn't encompassed in the purview of empirics. This is Hume's guillotine.
I'm not really sure. Say it again. I'm not
That's not Hume's
sure
guillotine.
what you mean by that.
Okay, so you're like, do you have not like, okay, whenever I say the universe and you're making this claim that there is this thing called a universe, you're referencing reality, right? And the world that you are empirically verified, which is sense data, right? Would you agree with the term?
The whole sense data is another Jim Bob thing. Jim Bob goes on and on and on about sense data. Okay, so I guess first, like, I do kind of want to bring up the whole like, oh, is it one thing or many things or whatever. Let me get that one real quick. I need. What was the timestamp for that? 1:11. Oh wait. Spread around here.
Is the point of this, that something can be singular and also many at the same time. For example, take an object like a book. Neil, is a book, does it have...
Is the universe one thing or many things? Is it made up of many things? This is exactly the same thing.
many parts?
Yes,
Okay, is it also one book?
it's one book.
Thank you. So it's one and many. So objects can be one and many at the same
It's
time.
still one
Answering
book.
your question.
Yes, but that now you have a problem now.
It goes on and on and on. We've already covered this before, so I just kind of want to like jog your memory on this one a little bit. We're not doing this again. This is like this goes on forever. But I heard that about the universe thing that Eli was doing. Same exact thing right here. Like, what is that supposed to? What is that supposed to prove? Like it. So weird. A group of Germains. Particular is fine to me too. Like if something in particular, like a particular thing, I don't have a problem with that. But what did he call it? Like, I kind of want. I don't even want to rewind because I'm going to lose the place and I don't want to go back. But it was like an unrelated. He didn't even say unrelated. He said like some other word for it. Particulars. Like, is the universe something particulars? Like a plural things. Like, why not just say things? I don't know. That's why I like the word particular, in particular, a particular thing. That's like normal people usage. The normal people understand what that means in that context. People use that word all the time, standard word. But the way that he like combined it with like, oh, is the universe a thing of like, there was some other word that he used and before too, something particulars, like plural. Is it just a bunch of like something particulars? Is weird.
Term all knowledge comes from sense data.
It's like, why not just say, oh, is it a bunch of unrelated things or is it one single thing? Like, why do you gotta? Yeah, let me get caught up here. I thought that was Jay at first. He looks more like Elijah Schaefer to me. I agree. I do think he looks more like Elijah Schaefer than Jay. But hello there, Trusty. The laws of logic not as universal as Christians think. The liar paradox, the sentence is false, directly challenges the law of excluded middle and classical logic. Is he saying that we can't empirically disprove solipsism? I have that too. You people. Solipsism, only your mind definitely exists. Everything else could be illusion. This is the whole related to brain and vat situation, I believe. You people and your vocab. Hello, Glow in the Dark. Welcome back. Okay. I'll leave you to that.
Ultimately, I feel like that's probably true. Because I would even argue that when we exercise, when we do mental activities, like I make up categories. Like I don't think integers are real objects. I'm not a mathematical Platonist.
Mhm.
But when we do things like invent kinds of arithmetic or whatever and say 2 + 2 = 4, that's my brain doing that work. So it's still
Okay. Right.
empirical.
Okay, but what I'm saying is that you cited this thing called the universe, and you are saying that you have knowledge of the universe, but all you have is your sense data. Your sense data does not give you knowledge of this thing called a universe. It gives you knowledge.
This whole sense data thing is Jim Bob uses the whole sense data argument. I have heard it so many times from Jim Bob specifically. I haven't heard anybody else use sense data as like those exact words, like word for word, that exact thing, besides Jim Bob. So this is interesting. And it was oh, let's 5913. Right around.
Good. Why is it morally good? So we can appeal to, for example, I think that call me. No. To phone, I have a microphone. DB wrong. I could be a brain in a vat, but I'm trusting my intuitive sense that my senses are telling me correct information.
I'm going to grant you an escape from solipsism. I'm going to grant you your sense data. How do you get a moral statement from sense data?
Because moral statements largely are sense-based. I can't give you you can't really give me moral objectivism either.
Wait.
Wait.
My view's not on the chopping block.
Well,
You're the
why can't it
affirmative.
be?
You're the affirmative. We can get into it, but the affirmative is feminism is good for society. That's what you came today, right?
It leads to people having better lives.
Let's say my view, Christianity, what if it was just terrible for society? It still wouldn't change the position you're in. You would have to argue why feminism is good for society. So if you're going to sense data and you're saying, well, I use sense data to navigate the world, and I evaluate the sense data.
It also tells me
this. We're not going to do this one. It goes on and on and on. But if you like count in the debates that he does bring it up, which is often, if you count the number of times that Juma literally says the word sense data, it's a lot. It's a lot. He really likes that particular phrase. So it was interesting to hear it from Eli here. Hello, Johnny. Welcome back.
Knowledge of objects and sensations in front of you. So I'm saying, how do you make the leap from all knowledge comes through sense data to there's this thing called a universe?
Because the only thing I can sense is the universe. 100% of all of the data that I've ever collected in my life, or I would argue that anybody's
So this is going. Oh, sorry, I don't mean to interrupt. Go ahead.
Is in the universe.
Okay, well, this is back to my question of when you say the universe, are you talking about? I have a few questions to do an internal critique. Are you talking about just a group of physical particulars?
Essentially,
is there anything immaterial to the universe?
It's all physical. So energy is still physical, even though it's not made of stuff.
No, I understand. That's like the physicalist. I get it. So, so it's a group of physical particulars and physical things happening. Now you have this. Would you agree that you disagreed with my my?
It's like a group of physical particulars. Like, why not just say stuff? Like stuff.
Criteria for the ontological status of these categories that I mentioned.
Ontological. Okay, sorry. Like, maybe it's just me. But I am like the general public. I don't know. all the specific philosophy bro stuff. I find the topics interesting. I have to look things up as I go, but it would make it so much easier if we just discuss things in plain English so that us stupid people can participate in sort of the fun discussions of how the world might work without having to constantly like stop and be like, what did he say? What does he mean by that? And have to like decode things instead of just kind of like being in the moment and sort of going with it and thinking more about the subject matter rather than like the specific words we use to express the subject matter. But I'll stop complaining about it, maybe. I'll think about stopping the complaints. I will consider it. Sense data. Sense is one of the sense. A scent data is one of the senses, at least. So that's actually not far off. Interesting is one way to describe it. Why is Planet Peterson even answering questions? The burden is on Eli. Planet Peterson's point of view is relevant to the prompt. Yeah, I mean, based on what Jim Bob here said about like, oh, well, if you're the affirmative, you can, it's all on you. You get to be interrogated, not me. It doesn't work like that. I don't remember if we covered this at some point. If we haven't, I kind of want to go back and cover this one too. But I think I might have at some point covered it. Maybe not. But decoding things is all of the fun. What are you asking for? Would just make it boring. What is the prompt? Oh, and this one is tag debunks atheism. Is the prompt. I barely understand anything either. That's why my comments are like sense data. Well, I appreciate it. I know there are lots of people here who are very philosophy-minded and who have interest in, and have had interest in philosophy for way longer than I have, because for me it was basically yesterday, and have gone through and researched the stuff and know way more than I do, so I apologize for not having as much background knowledge as some of you guys do. And then I have to look up some words that you people say too, but at least Rick Nell makes me feel like I'm not alone, so I appreciate that. Thank you for that. I feel a little bit more okay with it now. Because some of y'all are like, oh, well, that's a blah, 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 blah. That's a blah, 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 blah. And I'm like, okay, maybe it is just me. All right.
When it comes to the law of identity, for example, you said it's purely grammatical, but so this is where the problem lies, is that it's a description of something and of something in the universe, right? I know you don't think it's ontologically out there, but there's a behavior that objects are themselves and not themselves.
That's what it's grounded in.
But no, so you're saying it's grounded in this group of unrelated particulars. How do unrelated particulars give you an invariant universal law?
How do unrelated particulars give you an invariant universal law? Like, why not just say, how do unrelated things give you something that is isn't a physical, unchanging, like universal concept? Like, why not just say words that it's so like, I don't even know what to call it. It's so like pretentious sounding to me. I don't know. That's true though. Most things are blur 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 blur. Gibberish. Thank you. How do unrelated things give you the law of identity? Thank you. See, why can't we say that? It's perfectly fine.
Because claims without reference are completely incoherent.
Okay, again, this is retorsion, I understand, but how does the meta...
I've brought up the retorsion thing before. It seems like he really likes that one. He's gonna say it a lot.
Physics of your worldview allow for invariant universal laws if all the universe is, by your own definition, is a bunch of unrelated physical particulars?
Because those particulars are structured and behave in a certain way.
Structured? Okay, yeah. So like they're structured and they behave in a certain way. So you've now cited structure and behavior. So if I have a bunch of like, let's say, for example, we scale this down. I have a bunch of pebbles in a bucket. and let's say that I'm like doing an analogy, like I'm God and this is the universe. Now, I'm not presupposing God in the internal critique, but like
You're not presupposing God in the internal critique, but you kind of are with that. Okay, whatever. Well,
this bucket with all of these physical particular rocks, that's the universe, okay? And they've fallen into this bucket in random accidentalism. But now you're saying there's a structure and
random accidentalism. What?
behavior that all these particulars make that has now immaterial, universal, and conceptual laws.
Why don't you say, oh, this, what is all this stuff that's in this bucket, and it kind of randomly fell in, and
can be recognized by the human brain. What metaphysics?
I don't think any of those laws are immaterial. They're literally grounded. They're substrate dependent. They're grounded in a physical, real nature. Okay. Nature abides by nature's rules, essentially.
Well, how do you get rules from a dysteleological universe would be the first question. And two, you actually, like, what particular, this is the problem of the one and the many, what particular thing is the source of the rules by which all unrelated particulars now abide by, you see? Like if I say my brain is the grounding source for the universal laws of logic, the implication of that would be if I died, then there would be no more universal laws of logic. So when you say it's grounded in a physical thing, it's like which rock on the earth is grounding the universal laws of logic? Or you're saying it's all of them at once.
It is the universe. So
but all that is unrelated physical things. So how does a bunch of...
Why are they unrelated physical? Okay, I mean, I'm hearing a lot of assertions, but I don't hear a lot of explanations of like why, because like Peterson said that there is structure to it, and I keep saying unrelated as in like random, implying no structure. So I don't understand why he would keep saying that, acting as if Peterson didn't say that there was structure, even though he did say that there was structure. I don't know. This is weird to me. My sense data is telling me I'm gonna pass out. Oh, it is. It must be pretty late in some areas. Good night. Thanks for hanging out. We'll revisit this at some point for sure. Have you heard of Corky's paradox? Just kidding. I made it up. I have not. I see what you mean. I see what you did there. He's emphasizing that they are distinct things is why he keeps using that word. Okay, I'm just saying you could say unrelated things and call it a day.
Unrelated physical things now make a universal law.
See, he said it right there. Why couldn't he just say that? Just say that to begin with. He had to say it a bunch of times in all this like weird way, and then he's like, and then he said it in a normal way there. So why not just start with that? Just
that they all equally abide by.
While they are related, hold on, let me write down a term here.
No, relation. Now you're going to relation. Where do they get relation?
Well, no, that's not the point. While they aren't related, you said like
they're unrelated, and now you're saying they have relation.
All subjects.
Well, I thought Eli said unrelated. I didn't think Peterson said they were unrelated.
To the same.
Maybe I missed that part. That's possible, but I thought I only heard Eli say the whole like, oh, they're unrelated particulars or whatever.
Natural forces or whatever. So
that's what's in question. What natural forces? Where does empirical, secular, deterministic, physicalist, naturalist come up with this idea of natural forces?
Well, we observe them. They're incredibly obvious. So I want to go back because we're kind of changing the subject here. So you said, how do they emerge in a dysteleological universe? Mm-hmm. Well,
because you claim structure and behavior.
Yeah. So like take a circle. Where does pi come from in a circle? It comes from the ratio of its circumference to its diameter. Pi.
By the way, dysteleological, no purpose or design. So a I can't say the word. I have trouble with words sometimes. I'm not a native speaker, okay? You know what? That word that I just said, universe just happens with no plan behind it.
Pi doesn't exist somewhere else and allows circles to exist. Just literally the structure of a circle that basically produces pi, that constant. And the universe existing, nature existing, or whatever, the structure and behavior of things in the universe operate according to certain fixed principles. We can call them nature's laws. We can call them the laws of physics or whatever. They merely emerge. It's not all that satisfactory of an answer, but it has analogs that don't require anything deeper.
Again, so it does if you're going to give a justification for how your metaphysic can produce such a thing. You citing geometry, math is derivative of logic. That's what's in question here. This is far. What I think people miss with tag is this is extremely fundamental stuff. This isn't like, again, I grant that geometry exists. You grant that geometry exists, but all of these are based off of principles observed in the world that don't match up with a bunch of unrelated particular physical things that are deterministic, accidental. They don't have a mind. They don't have any teleology. They're just doing what they do, and it's all changing, by the way. But then we have
if it was grounded in a mind, then it could change at any moment, and a consistent universe where we can know anything completely blows up. Now you can presuppose that that won't happen, but you can't prove it in any sense.
No, but if a mind it had an idea for a world to be invariant and then created that world and instantiated that idea with material, it would make sense and have coherent justificatory power why there's invariant laws, why the material is structured around invariant laws. To say that there is no mind and there's just teleology it's a complete contradiction to say, well, everything's random, everything's in flux, but we also have invariant structured. There's nothing random to nature.
No,
no.
I assume that
I don't want to get an evolution debate like Jim Bob, but isn't like random mutation the whole crux of evolution?
So
you just said there's not.
We've been over this during the Jim Bob debate, but it's not necessarily completely random. It's like random for the purpose, random as in like it doesn't have a specific end goal, but they're not completely like mathematically random either. I think he might have agreed they are unrelated early on, but he probably didn't understand what was being asked. That's possible. I have no idea what he's talking about. Just do the rest of the stream in Russian. Хорошо, мы можем так сделать. Я не знаю, конечно, как получится тут. Если по-английски видео, а я по-русски. По-моему, будет плохо. Давайте нет. It's like he expects a non-God world to not have cause effect, that only the God could have caused and affected. He expects a non-God world to not have cause effect. Yeah, that doesn't. Why? Yeah, that's kind of it. Like he's presupposing that like you have to have God, but then he's saying, well, because you have to have God for these things, God must exist because you have to have God for these things. But there's no proof that like you have to have God for these things. Like, sure, if you presuppose you have to have God for these things and you say we have these things, then there must be God. Like, sure, yeah, but you're missing the part where like you're proving that like God is required for these things to exist. This is so weird. I just got activated from my sleep to neutralize my target. The secret coding has become a mission, comrade. Watch out. Some people are so like afraid of Russians, they might take it seriously.
Nothing random in nature. So that denies evolution.
You gotta let me talk. I think you think that disteleological and random are the same thing. They're not at all the same thing. But just going back to the mind real quick, if the mind had free will, it could change everything at any moment. Nature can't violate nature's own laws. The universe can't change its own laws of physics. So actually, consistency in nature is the only thing that you could possibly expect in an atheistic universe. Now, I'm not saying that proves God doesn't exist, because God could produce a universe or whatever that abides by consistent rules, but God could also change them whenever God wanted to. So I don't expect it more on theism versus atheism at all.
Okay, but I mean, you just citing that nature has rules that it plays by the way, this is almost like a reification, a personification.
That don't have pi as the ratio.
I know.
It can't be done.
I understand that. I agree that there's rules to nature. What I'm saying is that if these things like rules, just that word, like granting you, like that's the thing that you're not understanding is from an atheist position to say like, who makes rules? What is a colloquial term for a rule? It's something that a human, makes and structures something around so that things stay in order, right? But now we have a world that has we have no mind.
It doesn't necessarily need a person to be structured. Okay. Yes, that is what I say all the time.
In order to do that in the only colloquial sense by the way we know the word rules, but now you're appealing to these rules that no science can actually give you an explanation for why they are the case. They have to assume they're the case first to even do science. That's what we mean by the arbitrary starting point.
Your starting point is arbitrary.
No, it has explanatory coherence and justificatory power.
Nothing.
It absolutely does. I can give you the explanation. Do you want to hear the explanation?
What does it explain? Because remember, there's no epistemology that I can't do that you can do.
I know, but you can't justify it. Well, then that's important.
Okay, but a justification is not explanatory. It's just the presuppositional.
What do you think the definition of justification is in philosophy? It's literally giving an explanation for the good reasons you have to believe in something. Justification is quite literally an explanation.
Yeah, but you can claim to have a justification, and it could be wrong, and you could be like, you could say, oh, this is justified, but it could not be. Like, you could have some kind of problem where it's a circular argument, for instance, kind of like this seems to be.
But this is just a brute claim that doesn't actually do anything.
No, I'm demonstrating the entailments of my worldview versus your worldview. We compare them. Which one has coherence? Which one has epistemic justification? We can go into that. And again, I can give the explanation, okay? We have one foundational epistemic presupposition. And again, I don't agree with the principle of parsimony, but I've talked to a lot of atheists who do. And if you're going that direction, having a bunch of presuppositions versus one foundational one, I would say is more parsimonious. But again, I don't take that position. But we have, this.
Parsimony is apparently the fancy word for Occam's razor, which is where it's like the simplest solution is probably the most likely one or something like that. So when he
complex imaginable thing, it's not parsimony.
Well, no, I mean, if we're talking about somebody who has to grant themselves 4 or 5, 6 to a dozen presuppositions versus one, that would apply to Occam's razor. But anyway, we have a grounding source in the nature of God as the highest point of logic, the highest point of truth in his nature. He can't violate his nature because that is his ontology as God. Now, God has a mind because he's personable. That's where teleology comes from. God wants to create a world. He has an idea for the world. His ideas are informed by his nature in the same way that if I'm building a house, my ideas are informed by my human nature. Okay. So he has an idea for the world. He creates it out of material, creates material, and structures the material around the ideas, which explains why we have these rules that you cited to, but have no explanation for. It explains why we have access to the universal immaterial concepts that structure the world so that we can have a dominion over it and make sense of it. It explains why animals don't, because
animals do. What do you mean animals don't? Animals do make sense of animals do make sense of it. Sure, not to the same level as us, but my bird is very smart. He understands some logical concepts. Just because a lot of animals can't have the same kind of language and speak to us the same way that we speak to each other, doesn't mean that proves that they're somehow that they can't do this stuff and they don't understand certain concepts or whatever. That's parsimony, but it isn't about a number of assumptions. It's just as much, if not more, about the quality of assumptions. That makes sense.
Humans are made in God's image and animals are not. And it explains how we can have meaningful sentences at all, because meaning is another thing that is not empirically verified. It's assumed. So this gives an actual...
These are just claims.
No, but
These
this is
anything other than claims.
Okay, but do you understand how this... Okay, even if it's just a claim, it makes sense. It's coherent. It's forward. It follows. It has justificatory power. When I ask you the same questions, it's, well, natural laws, and we got the natural laws, and what's going on? You're not telling me anything. I can give you the actual reasons for why the things...
I'm living in it. So are you.
Well, here's the thing. I don't actually grant that without so I grant that you know that nature exists. I'm not granting that you would know nature exists if the preconditions that I just described weren't the case. And you have not given me a reason why, in your worldview, these things can exist without meeting the preconditions. You denied the ontological status criteria that I gave you. And if we got into that would destroy the possibility of truth, logic, or knowledge at all. If truth isn't universal, then it's subjective. So there's no truth. If logic,
huh? God's a subject. But God has a mind with free will.
Okay.
God can change the laws of logic tomorrow.
He couldn't.
If he can't, then he's constrained by them.
God is constrained by his.
Platonically adopt a view of the ontological status of I am not the atheistic worldview. There are atheists that
have an atheistic worldview.
I know atheists that are Platonists. I know atheists that are that.
No, but I came to debate your position though, Peterson.
Yeah, and that's totally fine. But all I'm doing is telling you that.
Well, the topic is tag debunks atheism. So that seems like that's, yeah, I mean, that seems like it's the other way around. I mean, that, like, he came to debate his position, but the topic seems like he's on the affirmative. So that sounds a little backwards to me, but I could be wrong. I'm very lost.
They can, like, secularly, atheistically, or whatever, you can claim through Platonism or whatever that there is ontological status to these things.
Okay, how would you justify that?
Well, they would merely assert that there's a necessity.
So again, a mere assertion is just an assertion, and there's no justification there.
Yes, your claim is no better than a Neoplatonist.
No, mine has justificatory power, coherence, and
no, there are no justifications.
I've given them to you. Okay, so if I say that truth exists, I can justify this because truth is universal, immaterial, invariant, and conceptual. The only way for that to be possible is if there's an immaterial, universal, invariant mind. Okay.
Why is that the case? Why should anybody think that that's the case?
It follows. Okay, you can't ground the immaterial in the material. You can't ground the universal in a particular.
Logic,
a concept has to become from a mind.
Forms.
But no, let me. You wanted the justification. I want to say it one more time for the sake of the audience. If the ontological status is all these things together, if it's immaterial, it has to be grounded in the immaterial. If it's universal, it cannot be grounded in a particular. And if it's conceptual, it has to be grounded in a mind. This follows. Whether or not you agree with it, it follows, and that's what I mean by justification. Is good reasons for my belief. That's what justification is.
Yeah, but even if it's valid, that doesn't make it true, because I could just say.
But what I'm saying is, from your position, truth isn't possible. So why should we take the position that can't even demonstrate how they come to truth in a coherent and justified way, who denies the ontological statuses that make truth possible?
That I can't do.
Just because something is coherent within itself doesn't mean that it's grounded in something else that's true. Like, you can have a lot of things that are like that make sense within that, like, belief. Like, you can have a set of beliefs that make sense with each other, but they could all be wrong. Yeah, like, you could still have that.
Do that. You've just said the only way to do it is through the mind of God, and you don't believe in the mind of God. Therefore, you can't do it. You don't get to claim I'm right because you're wrong, and you can't be right because I'm right.
No, I'm saying I have demonstrated in this debate how your worldview makes these categories impossible. If truth has any universality to it, it has to be grounded in something universal. You said the universe is a bunch of unrelated particulars. Unrelated particulars don't ground things that are all-encompassing. So there's a demonstration.
I said it was grounded in the universe, not in the things that make up the universe.
What is the universe in your position other than what makes up the universe? What is the universe? I asked you, is the universe
things that exist? It's synonymous with reality. It's synonymous with nature.
Wait. You just said, I said it's grounded in the universe, not the things that make up the universe. What is the universe? The things that make up the universe. Come on, man.
The set of all things that exist. It's
the set. So what is a set material?
The set is singular. God has.
Is a set material.
Does God have attributes?
I would say that he has an essence. We believe in essence energy distinction from my worldview. So he has his essence, and we participate in his energies.
Is God like loving?
Sure.
Is he wise?
Well, that would be malformed. He is the grounding of all knowledge. So wise would be something within a created order. But yeah, I guess colloquially you could say, sure, he's the most wise.
Yeah. Whatever.
Sure.
Is he three persons?
3 persons, one in essence and nature.
Okay, so you've grounded this in a series of unrelated, apparently, things.
No, they are the embodiment of relation. Again, that's how I can justify relation. The thing you tried to justify.
The things in the universe are
remember, let's go back to the unrelated particulars. You have relation. I just grounded relation. You can't.
Yes, the universe. The universe, singular.
It's supposed to get debunked.
Hold up, let him get it off.
The universe, singular, composed, has characteristics, is composed of.
This is the problem with one in the many. How does your system
hold up? Eli, let him get it off.
Oh, forgive me.
There's nothing happening on this side that is not happening on that side. The universe, singular, but compositionally is composed of different things. God, singular, is composed of different things.
Okay,
a universal thing. God, okay, the universe or nature. Whatever.
The Trinity solves the problem of the one and the many by their relation in their divinity. You can laugh. I'm giving you the explanation. Their relation in their divinity. Okay, distinct in personhood, united in divinity. That's an explanation. When I ask you, okay, how do you get this thing called 3 persons united in divinity? You can. I know you disagree with.
This is the. Where were we back? Where's the Jedi one?
You have one entity with 3 parts. How do you make it 3 distinct things?
Neil, you argue that something can't be one and many.
Same shit, different day. Is God a Chad? Gotta be honest, I don't understand anything they're saying. I'm having trouble following too, honestly. This is like so much random vocab that could be said in so much simpler terms that it's like this really feels like sort of like an EP measuring contest where like who can out vocab the other person with whatever like niche philosophy, philobro language. Who can say something like it's like a competition of like who can say something simple in the most like convoluted, complicated way possible. And I think Eli is winning. I blame you for keeping me up, Defna. This is my wheelhouse, and I can explain why they're unrelated in atheism, but not some Christianity. So tired to process into words right now. Oh, we'll have to revisit it on a panel. Feel free to get some sleep if you need to. Understand it's getting late. I know people have work and stuff. We can definitely revisit this, and if you want, I can transcribe this later and pull out like all the questions I had that we can revisit. I'll try. I'm gonna try to set up something with the what's it called? The talk studio thing or whatever it's called, where it's like people can join easily. So, and stream from there versus like Streamlabs, and that should work fine. I haven't set it up yet, so I haven't had the chance, but I would like to probably do at least try an experimental panel sometime this week. So that might be a good chance to try that. But this time we'll set it up ahead of time and make sure it works beforehand. If you're interested, of course. We'll discuss. Word salad. A lot of terminology using it or something. Yeah, same. That's what Pisco said of one of my super chats. Word salad. Oh, damn. Ouch. No sleep allowed. Oh my goodness. It's okay. It's okay. Some people have to sleep. I mean, I actually do have to sleep and work as well, but I've been sort of running on no sleep recently, and I've gotten kind of used to it. Oh, by the way, speaking of no sleep, I have been making a lot of progress on the Force Doctrine thing, and I am like, so say like this is the timeline. I'm like this far done, so there's like only a little portion at the end I haven't gotten to yet, and then that would be the main edit, and then after that I have to watch it one more time through just to make sure I didn't miss anything, and then I'll be done finally. Like it's like this close. So I don't know if I want to put that out this week or if I want to put out what I already finished with the whole like consent related stuff. So because I know it's been like it's being discussed right now, so on Twitter and whatever. So that's something I haven't decided yet, but it's very close, and it's now closer to an hour than 2.5 now that I've refilmed everything and made it a lot more concise. It's saving at least like an hour and a half off. I'm really glad I redid it, by the way, because the other version was way too long. It was crazy. Yeah, that one. What are you working on with Force Doctrine? I'm doing like a one singular long video with all of the common arguments people make and the debunking of it, I suppose. So I am very close to being done with it. Yeah, Master Response to Force Doctrine. I'm very close to being done with it, and it's sort of like instead of a bunch of individual videos and some points that I could have made better, it's one like long one where they're all together and more concise, and a few extra things tossed in of basically like Wilson debunking himself. Anyway, it's fun. I'm very close to being done, and this time I mean it. Because I abandoned the project entirely for a while because it kept getting completely out of hand, and I was like, oh, this is just gonna take too long to deal with, and it's not even worth it. I'm gonna not even touch it for a while. And finally I got motivated again, and I'm almost done now, so that's really nice. I really want to be done with it so I can focus on probably a bunch of other smaller projects for a while. I've been looking into the Erica Kirk stuff too recently, so I found some interesting patterns there that I want to cover soon as well. So I think the whole like creative block I had with making individual videos has worn off, and now I'm back into working on a bunch of ideas I had. So it's gonna be nice to finish this and get out of the way. I'm pretty excited about that. The Force Doctrine, if you will. You can't debunk Force Doctrine. It is just that true. You have no idea how many comments like that I get. Or maybe you are referring to those, but on a bunch of the Force Doctrine videos, that's basically, I get so many of almost word for word that you can't debunk it. It's just true. It just is. It's true. You can't do it. Like, I'm serious. Like, people literally do reply with basically word for word that. Your new username is Force Doctor. It's not bad. I got one word for Force Doctrine: reciprocity. You're only able to make the Force Doctrine video because men allow you to. That's true. I mean, at any point, some dude could break into my room and, you know, assault me and beat me up so badly that I won't be able to work on it and, like, break my hands. I'll have to type with my feet. It's going to be impossible. I have to relearn how to walk and how to use the computer. And because that's not happening, men are allowing me to work on it. Thank you, men. I appreciate it. Men as a group, they are simply allowing me to make the video. If not for men agreeing to collectively not assault me, therefore, it's gonna, you know what? I'm so done with this. I think I made my point. A Force Doctrine is also the denial of the existence of human rights. Yep. Indeed. Which is odd because it seems like believing in God and that we're made in God's image and we must treat each other in certain ways. You would think that would basically translate to human rights, but I suppose not for some people. Anyway, I'm not gonna hop on it too much. I just wanted to mention it that I am very close, and it's basically like so close to being done. I think I'll probably be done like today, maybe not today because I'm tired. Like tonight or tomorrow, it's gonna be done. So, I think I've been putting out something. What is it? Every Thursday. I think the last 2 videos came out on Thursday. I'm gonna try to do like the same day each week because I think YouTube likes it when you release on around like the same at a consistent schedule. So on like whatever days the other 2 videos I recently did got put out, I'm gonna do the same day this week for the Force Doctrine one. Yeah, I had no idea that was being me. I thought it was being original. Oh, no way. I hope you aren't conflating it as a prescriptor and not a descriptor. There is a difference. Don't worry, I cover that because of course, yeah. No, don't worry. I know that is something that is claimed of it. Yeah, I discussed that at length. You'll just have to wait to see it sometime this week, I believe. I think since I keep harping on about it, I'm gonna go ahead and release this one, and I'll do the like the essay video on the following week or something, even though that one's pretty much done already. Because I've been talking about doing this one for a while, and I want to sort of like wash my hands of it. Yep. Cool. I appreciate that.
With it, but again, now we come to your worldview, and you say bunch of unrelated
particulars. One
particulars.
thing, the universe.
No, yeah. Now there's this thing called relation.
Essence, the universe.
How does the particular things have this thing called relation? How does that happen? What's your justification for relation between unrelated particulars?
They exist in the.
What's your justification for relation between things that aren't related? What? Sorry, but how does that make sense again?
Universe, they interact together.
No. Justify something you're not claiming. What?
The universe is these things. So now there has to be something more than just these things.
Is those things that you believe in.
No.
Justify how they interact together.
Well, they exist in perfect spiration, because if God is all Lord, then he has to be all Lord over something. If he's all loving, he has to be all Lord over something.
These aren't justifications. These are just claims. These are just claims.
What justification is an argument and an explanation, which I'm asking from you, and we're not getting, unfortunately. And this is why I say tag debunks atheism. And I'm demonstrating that. Now, again, going back to the unrelated particulars, if you're saying that there are a bunch of the universe is identical to a bunch of unrelated things, but now they have relation in a set, you're appealing higher than just the material world now. And I'm asking for the justification for that.
I haven't done that.
Whenever you say they exist together in a set, that's appealing to higher than just the physical things, which is what you literally said the universe was.
Universe, noun, singular.
Okay, nouns. How does a bunch of unrelated material give you a noun?
By existing? Like,
okay, so
how does something that exists
exist? Now you're presupposing existence. You're just granting yourself.
Yes, yes. At some point, you have to grant yourself something. Although I don't know if you can call that presupposing, because apparently there is a difference between presupposing something and like basic axioms. Because I would say like existence is a sort of a regular like starting point. So this is also something I've looked up previously. So an axiom is a starting point that everyone accepts because it's sort of self-evident and you can't function without it. So like a thing is itself. I would say like something can't be true and not true at the same time. That things exist at all. Like you have to, like a thing is a thing and things have to exist for things to be. Like I don't know, like weird stuff like that, I suppose. So you have to assume that there is some sort of starting point, that like reality exists at all. That's it makes sense that like that exists because it's self-evident. But the presuppositionalism is a little bit different because it's like in Eli's case, it's like saying that God is a necessary precondition for everything, and you have to I'm going to treat that as a starting point, and I'm going to treat that as if it's like this self-evident axiom, even though it's not self-evident. You kind of pretend it is. And so Eli doesn't like only start with God the way that Peterson starts from reality exists. Eli says that his starting point is like the only possible valid one, and that Peterson's starting point is self-defeating. So it's not like, oh, I assume God. It's that you have to assume God or nothing works and I can prove it. But his proof is circular. Anyway, so it's bigger than simply picking a starting point. It's saying that your starting point is the one true starting point, and it's like it's self-evident and justified, which it kind of isn't really self-evident in this case, but whatever. So it's bigger than picking a starting point. It's saying your starting point is the starting point, and all other starting points are wrong. So axiom is like, oh, nobody can deny it. It's self-evident. Like, sure, technically, you can't say, like, you can't prove that existence exists. It's sort of people accept it as true because, like, here we are, right? I don't think you can say the same thing about God. All right, let's try to carry on here a little bit. I'm waiting on someone to bring up falsification against someone making a truth claim justification. I think therefore God exists. Yeah, like it doesn't follow. So exactly.
Existence.
You're
why am I not allowed to do that?
Because it's arbitrary, and in a debate you can't be arbitrary.
God is arbitrary.
Not if I can give a coherent, justified explanation.
Again, just because something being coherent, like makes sense like with each other, doesn't mean that it makes sense like overall, that it's true. I think I already harped on that a little bit. Like you can have things that are coherent that aren't true.
Then it's no longer arbitrary, it's contingent.
Anybody can construct a valid argument that doesn't make it true. I could say the God-defeating penguin is a necessary being.
I'll just let him talk.
Therefore,
I know,
God doesn't
this is what the whole okay, that is exactly what's in question, is how do we come to truth? So you're saying just making an argument.
I could say zips up.
Right, but what I'm saying is everybody is in the same problem of needing to find a way to justify truth claims. That's the paradigmatic part of a paradigm level argument. We all have to figure out how to do that. Well, I believe truth is a person, so I think truth is God. I know you've heard that before. But
then the answer to all questions can validly be stated as God.
It follows, man.
God.
It follows.
Well,
it follows.
Sure. Okay, yeah, sure. Okay. I mean, if that follows, I don't think I can add anything here that's totally coherent.
if you think that that is valid epistemology, then I don't know what to tell you.
Well, I mean, again, like this is what I mean whenever we say impossibility of the contrary, is that if a system could give an equally justified, coherent rebuttal, then this prompt wouldn't be the case. But what I'm demonstrating is all you have is, well, these are the axiomatic things I have to grant myself in order to come to truth propositions at all. And then when we actually look at these things and we say, wait a minute, the metaphysic of the world that you've proposed doesn't account for the way that these things actually exist in the world. And so if that's if it can be demonstrated,
other than by claiming God makes them exist.
Okay, again, this is where it comes to the retorsion. I want to go back to retorsion really quick, because again, you would agree that to deny logic would be using logic to do so. To deny truth would be a truth statement. So yeah, it's a self, that's retorsion. It's like it self-validates the criticism. So that's the type of argument, if that's valid, and you would agree that that's valid to say, that that's a great way, it's a simple Aristotelian way to show somebody who denies the existence of logic that logic exists. I'm doing the same thing, but I'm showing and demonstrating that the retorsion actually comes by the use of the thing you're talking about. So when you're using an immaterial, universal, invariant concept, to deny that, you would be appealing to a universal immaterial mind, you see. Because again, I described the grounding of those things. If it's conceptual, it has to be grounded in a mind. If it's universal, it has to be grounded in something universal. If it's immaterial, it can't be grounded in something material. So again, just like denying truth is a truth claim, so that's self-validating. If, in fact, the ontological status of these things I'm talking about is the case, the way I'm talking about it, to deny it would be denying the only possible way it can be grounded. Now, again, you reject your entire...
Yeah, what is this? Like, oh, this is the only possible way it could be grounded because you said so? Why is that the only possible way? I don't even have words for this. Yes, the zip self-defense.
Your premise that these things are eternal and immaterial.
No, I said universal. I said universal. Okay, so you deny that logic is universal.
I didn't say universal.
Oh, I did. You said I didn't say eternal. I said universal. You got it.
I know. I didn't say that, and then it was like you were acting like
no. I said that they're universal, and you're like, I'm not saying they're eternal. Nobody said eternal.
So by universal, it applies to everything.
Didn't he say unchanging basically in some other word? He used some other word for it, but invariant, I think he said. I don't know. I think if something is unchanging, that's kind of like saying eternal.
Yes, it's everywhere present at all times.
Well, it can't address the statement. This statement is false, so it can't do that.
So again, this would imply logic. How does that? So how does me saying that logic is universal collapse logic?
Breaks non-contradiction.
What are you talking about? Not the law of non-contradiction
is
universal.
Famous. This is a really famous.
I understand, but you're presupposing. Yeah, you're presupposing logic in this question.
That's not what I'm doing. I'm just simply giving you an example of if
it's
universal.
Anytime we have conversations,
if it's universal, then how come sometimes it fails?
Well, again, because for something to fail necessitates, for something to be false necessitates that there's a truth. And if that's absolutely the case, and universally the case,
I said that it can't do something.
Well, okay, just because it had so logic can't be illogical. We're back to retorsion again. Like I agree with that, but how does that deny its universality?
Because it can't deal with the claim this sentence is false.
Yeah, we would just say it's illogical. That's using logic and presupposing logic. This statement is false. Yeah, it's a paradox, right? It's a paradox, which is within
paradox.
Logical, right? Wait. What kind of paradox?
A logical paradox.
Right. So we're presupposing logic again. That's what I'm saying. How does that? I
just realized I had forgotten to unplug the backup hard drive. I heard it making sound just now. I hope it wasn't doing that the whole time. I ejected it, but I never physically unplugged it, and it was still doing something. I just noticed it doing that. Damn it! I try to do it before every stream because it makes weird sounds that vibrate through the microphone. I hope that it didn't do that too much.
Steelman, what you're saying? So you're saying that if we have paradoxes,
I'm not saying that logic. I don't think it exists in the way you think it exists. I think it is a tool.
You don't think it's universal?
I'm just using. Yes, if universal means. To me, that seems to mean that it can't fail. And I'm just giving an example where it seems to fail.
No, that's like the failure of logic. Okay, I'm sorry. Maybe I'm misunderstanding, but the failure of logic in my view would be something to be illogical or paradoxical, right? But when I'm talking about universals, I mean, you can't go find a place where the laws of logic no longer apply. It's a necessary part of
because logical
existence.
Yeah, because
No,
logical claims require reference in order for them to make
Right,
sense.
exactly. That's
And it
universality,
doesn't come
dude.
from God.
Okay, that's just a claim, but you've now
Sure, I can prove it to you right now.
just debunked that it's not universal. But I want to point out for the audience,
I can prove it to you right now.
you just agreed that there's no place where you don't need to have a reference, which supposed.
I love the cozy sounds of hard drives freaking out. I really hope that wasn't too distracting or show up too much. Dang it.
This is the law of identity, which demonstrates the universality of
logical grounding.
No, but you just demonstrated the universality of the law of identity. But go ahead. What's your next question?
That's not a problem for me.
You said it wasn't universal. Now you've demonstrated how it is. So that is the problem. You're all over the place.
I was really just asking a question because I thought it was interesting to dive into the
I know
the collapse of the law of non-contradiction.
It's a great thought experiment. But again, I'm trying to focus on you're here to defend that atheism is not debunked. So anyway, but what's your question?
Oh shoot. What color is your car? It's gonna sound weird, but I'm going somewhere with it.
White.
Okay, you have a white car. That is a logically true statement.
Yes.
So, can that statement ever be false?
Could it ever be? I mean, I guess if I painted my car a new color, right?
Well, yeah, but like we're not talking about like it being conditional upon whatever. Like it currently. Maybe we'll have to pick a different example. 2 + 2 = 4.
Yeah.
Okay, can that ever be false?
No.
Why?
Because it is it's a mathematical truth based on universal invariant laws.
Why didn't you say it's based in?
That's basically the same. What do you mean? He asked why, and he said basically because, like, because on like that. Because basically he said just because in bigger words.
God.
In my opinion.
Because you.
Oh, I really hope not. The hard drive thing. I hope not. I know it's been a problem in the past, but I think since I've added some padding on like the microphone thing, I hope it really doesn't come through. Because I know like any vibration on the table used to go like right through and into the sound. It was so annoying. I don't know how anybody dealt with it. I'm so sorry. I should have fixed my sound sooner than I did. It was honestly unacceptable how long it took for me to figure it out.
You are aware that's I could have just gone one more
made
step.
A platonic argument there, which is kind of weird.
How's that a platonic argument? What are you talking about?
Because like I could be a mathematical Platonist and say that that's the reason that arithmetic or mathematical logic or whatever works.
Yeah, I would just ask you, how do you get universal invariant laws? Which is the question I've been asking you all night.
Well, I'm trying to demonstrate something to you here. So
I know.
So pretend the universe doesn't exist, but God's eternal mind exists, right?
That was true at one time.
Okay. So could God therefore have said 2 + 2 = 5?
No, because that's a reference from the I mean,
then it's not grounded in God.
No, it's a reference from the created order. Hold on, let me finish this. I can answer it. Okay. This is why my paradigm has explanatory power. Within my paradigm, there's a created order and there's the uncreated. Okay. 2 + 2 = 4 is conditional on the universal invariant laws of reality. And I have an explanation for why reality is created that way. But God saying, before he created the universe, 2 + 2 = 5, there's principles in there that are picked out. And that supposes that he created the universe already, right? So he could have made it that way if he decided to make creation that way, and then it would be true. But you're saying, what if God referred to the universe that he hasn't created yet? That doesn't make any sense.
So like you think that you think integers really exist?
So this is where you'll know something more than me. I don't know what integer means. Could you tell me?
Well, it's just like a number.
Oh, okay. Is that
okay? So this person took the time to go and look up all of these like big unusual words so he could sound super smart and confuse everybody. Well, not everybody. Confuse me along with a bunch of other people and the general population. But he doesn't know what integer is. That's not even like a weird, like unusual thing. That's like, I don't know, middle school math. Yeah, I think if you don't know what integer is, why not learn like some more basic words before going and learning like unnecessarily complicated, unusual ones? I don't know. It seems a little backwards to me. Like before learning, like I don't know. It seems like learning generally is done with like simpler, more complicated, more complicated, more complicated. It seems like what he did was he went from simple to extremely complicated and unusual, but he skipped the lower middle part of it somehow. I don't understand this. Yeah, I'm so confused because for a person that, and see, this is kind of the trouble with looking up all these like niche philosophy bro terms and using them basically nonstop and hardly any plain English in here, is because people then expect you to know the more basic stuff like integers, and when you don't, it's weird. Like if he was speaking in complete plain English this entire time and still communicating the same concepts, I don't think I would even, like, I might be like, oh, haha, moving on. But I wouldn't make as much of a big deal out of it because sometimes people forget stuff. Like, school was probably a long time ago for him, and people forget things like this if they don't use it every day. That's fine. But if you make a point to, like, really beef up your vocab so much that you're talking in a specific way, and then you miss something basic like that, it doesn't fit well together. I don't know. It's something is off here. Not right now, but do you ever have people on stream pretty familiar with tag and how the people that run it operate? Would love to come on sometime and talk about it. Yeah, I think that is something that I would like to do soon. I would like to maybe this weekend. I need to figure out the whole like talk studio thing. I would have to use a different streaming thing, because this one people are not as, like, technically I could right now, but then it would look kind of weird. Like I'd have to put a box with like you somewhere on here, and I wouldn't be able to, you wouldn't be able to see my screen, and it's a little bit off. So I'd have to use different software entirely. So like those streams are going to look different from the normal streams. Like the they're going to have a different theme and everything configured differently. But yeah, I would like to do some sort of panels here soon. I know Examination is interested to discuss the pro tag side, so it's good to have some maybe tag on the opposite end, if that's where you're coming from. Yeah, that would be great. I'll try to let people know ahead of time on exactly when that's happening so people can plan to be there if they want to. The programmer is triggered by someone not knowing integer. True. But honestly, like, integer isn't even like, I know it's a common thing in coding, but it's basic math, like the most basic of math. Definitely not. Okay, good. Yeah, it'd be nice to have some people, like both people who are both familiar with it, to not be on the same side. That'd be great. I think that would work so well. So if you have time sometime this weekend, that would be really cool. And generally it is, basically always I do stream late, so it's probably going to be like late either on Friday or Saturday or Sunday. I'm not sure exactly which day, but sometime on the weekend. We'll try to do something like that.
It's synonymous with number.
Yeah, I think they have to be whole numbers. I'm not 100% sure.
Okay. Well, yeah. Again, I think that these are universal like properties of that have a real ontology, again, within the regularity and structure of the created order. But again, I think that they refer to a principle, right? Like when we go back to the law of identity, if I pick out one, like, you know, we could go to tech, like a middle school math. Johnny has one apple. It doesn't have to be an apple. It's just a placeholder for a that refers to one principle, and that principle could be anything. That's why math is applicable to things. But again, this is within the created order. I don't think that God is like made of math the way we know math. I think that his nature is truth, and if math is truthful, I have a grounding source for that.
Okay, so
oh man.
Just real quick, because I forgot the answer. Could God make the utterance before he creates the universe? Could God hold the belief or whatever, 2 + 2 = 5? Could he do that?
This utterance thing, that's another Jim Bob language thing. I haven't heard anybody say utterance besides Jim Bob. Like, Jim Bob loves that word.
Well,
utterance.
So two things.
And that's not even like a weird or like unusual word to like utter something. People say like, "Oh, how dare you utter that?" Like it's not like complicated, but it's unusual in a way that people don't normally say it like that. People don't normally say utterance. Just like people usually say in particular or something particular, but they don't say particulars. The same way that people say like, "Oh, how dare he utter that?" But they don't normally say an utterance is made, you know? It's these sort of common words that are that it's like another version of a common word that isn't normally used. That's a little funny. More of a Jordan Peterson thing. My favorite is reprehensible. Is that you mean utterance is something that Jordan Peterson also used? I think reprehensible is a pretty common word. Like something being reprehensible. Utterance is a Peterson thing? Okay, I didn't know that. I'm not very familiar with Peterson. I know kind of like the general level stuff, that like the clean your room stuff and whatever, but I haven't really listened to much Jordan Peterson at all. And from what I've heard, apparently the good Jordan Peterson is long gone and it's all kind of crap now. But at some point we might do something that's, it's not a bad idea to at some point cover some like older Jordan Peterson stuff and see what I think about it, because I know he was a big deal for a while, maybe not as much anymore, but I'm not even gonna address that. You're not wrong. That's not wrong. I understand that was a joke, but it's not wrong. 6 and 9 also. I can't with you people. All right, let's get through this.
Things, and I'm not trying to dodge. I just want to clarify something. Just like my position justifies the reality that I'm in and gives a coherent account for truth. But that doesn't mean that I now have exhaustive knowledge of the way God's mind works. That would be a non sequitur. I'm not saying that that's what you're saying per se, but I want to clarify with that. I would say that like the way we have beliefs and the way that God has beliefs is not a one-to-one. And again, a mathematical proposition is something coming from the created order. So like him having knowledge of how he plans to create the created order, yeah, you can have that thought, but he creates the created order unto his will. But its truth value comes from how it exists in creation. So there's not like the earth and the universe wasn't eternally with God forever. There was a moment where he created it.
It pretty much sounds like it pretty much sounds like you're saying God could say 2 + 2 = 5, because God could create a universe where that actually is the truth of
right, and then it would be true. Yeah.
Okay, well then 2 + 2 = 4 is not eternally true.
I never said it was eternally true. I said it was universally true.
You said logic is eternal.
Dude, I have said all night long, universal, immaterial, conceptual, and invariant. Eternality.
I don't know. Invariant sounds like something that's gonna be the same forever, like unchanging. Invariant. If something is unchanging, it's the same forever. That's I don't see the problem of calling that eternal. That sounds like the same thing to me. I don't know what he's upset about here.
Applies to God, and his nature is ultimately logical. So anything he creates will be informed by that nature. But the way you understand math is
yes. That also kind of follows like, oh well, is it good because God created it, or did God do it because it's good? That's kind of the same thing. Like, is it logical because God made it so, or did God make it so because he's bound by logic as well, or something like it? Yeah, whatever. I'm not making sense either. Yeah, but there are different types of invariants. Some invariant things are variant, obviously. You had me for a minute there. Like, wait, what? I see what you did.
Eternal logic is just textbook tag, so I'm really confused here.
Well, then you clearly have not understood. Like his nature is eternal, and his nature is all logical. Okay, but now when we're getting into a mathematical proposition, that's a proposition that's based on the reality of the created order that has its structure grounded in God. Okay, So that's what I'm saying, is that you're saying, well, like you're trying to apply something from the universe that God created to him before he created it. And I'm saying that doesn't make sense. The world he's going to create is going to be logical because it's informed by his nature. Okay. Well,
then it could take any form. And so that seems to.
So anything can be logical? No, that implies that anything can be logical.
God can create any kind of reality, then yes.
No, he can only create a logical reality.
Yeah, but the logical reality.
So then he is constrained by logic. So then that doesn't sound like God to me.
He creates can take on any.
It's not arbitrary. That's what teleology
is. Arbitrary.
No,
God's decision.
If he can only create something that follows the laws of logic, like as we know them, then like why would he not be constrained by? That seems. I don't know if he means to say this. God is a word. What one speaks about reveals everything. That has its structure grounded in God. Yeah. Hello.
Usually not one way versus another is just very clear.
No, again, he can only do it according to his nature. That is like opposite of arbitrary. It's not flippant. It's not based on a whim.
But how you don't know God's nature? That's the whole point in Eastern Orthodoxy. You don't know God's nature, so you can't say if it's this or that, or if it's based on logic or whatever, or if he can only do things that are logical or whatever. You can't say that because you don't know God's nature.
That's the definition of arbitrary. Yes,
it's the whole like the essence energies distinction, where you don't know God's nature, but you can know God by the actions or energies, or that's like Eastern Orthodox 101. So how can you claim anything about God's nature here? This is weird. Hello, nice to see you. It sounds like he's saying God has no free will and agency. Yeah, I'm confused by that. He's saying the word God a lot, but not speaking of God, knowing nothing of him. Which if God has no agency, then it's just a mechanical force. Yeah, I'm more and more confused the more I listen to this, honestly. But at least there's only like 15 minutes of this left. I don't think we'll do Q&A. We'll save it for or we'll save like further tag discussion after this for when we do panels.
Hey, we have free will, but we're confined to our nature.
I'm clearly not intelligent enough to pull this off on my own. Like, I don't understand how tag is not circular, and I don't understand like all of these like extra like fluff words added in make it even more confusing. Like, why not just use the plainest English, explain what it is that you mean to all of the people that are listening, because that's what debates are for. It's like these are for the general public. This isn't like for Planet Peterson.
Nature. I have free will to do whatever my human nature permits me. God has free will to do whatever his divine, ultimate truth, ultimate good, ultimate logical nature permits him. So yeah, it's free will, but he can't be evil, for example.
That still produces.
Because if the goal here was to confuse, I think it's working. Merit free. No, you are intelligent if these guys act as if they mutually make sense because it justifies their grift. Oh, I appreciate that. That means a lot. Hello, Scott. They say free to make you which paint the responsible. Thank you. I do appreciate that. I know I don't know like all the vocab and whatever, but I try to make sense of things as I learn. So thank you for hanging in there with me. Appreciate that.
This is an infinite creativity space of the way things could be. I want to use a different example, and then I'll let you grill me because I've been asking you questions for probably.
I could do it either way, brother.
The mathematical example may just be like not a great example because of how abstract mathematics is, right? So let's just take like the planet Earth. The planet Earth is not the planet Mars. So that's a logical like law of identity kind of statement, right?
Correct.
Okay. Before God created the universe, if you ask me, God is absolutely permitted to say Earth is Mars. Because there is no Earth, there is no Mars. There's no referent. So just like I can say I can create a fiction in my brain, and I'm perfectly allowed to do that. You can do it too. All zigzags are doopity-doos. So those two things are just the same thing. They mean the same thing. There is no Earth, there is no Mars before creation. So God can just simply make claims that actually do, in reality, violate the law of identity.
Again, the law of identity is based on regularity in the nature already created. You literally
that's
just
what I believe, except for the
let me
created.
respond.
Yeah, wait, what?
Let me respond.
So this
you
is
made my
very
argument
weird.
for me. No, you made my argument for me. You said it has to be based
That's
on
the
a
exact
reference.
opposite of how I said
No,
it.
I know it is, but I'm sorry that that's the case. But look, you said it has to be based off a referent. That would be literally my exact same answer. It would be illogical and nonsensical for God to be making claims about a referent he hasn't made yet. So I don't understand the point of your question.
But if it's God, then God could do anything, right? I thought he could literally do anything. So are you saying God is constrained by something? Because if God has constraints that God has to stay within, then there is something beyond that's like a lesser God, and there's like an extra other God above that God that doesn't have those constraints. So you're talking about like a lower level God that's not like as unconstrained as the ultimate God, and calling the lower level God the ultimate God. That doesn't make any sense. It's a very paradoxical thing, but the more you learn, the more you'll figure out there isn't much to be learned here. They use erudite language to muddy the waters and talk nonsense for a lucrative amount of time. It is starting to seem like that a little bit. Oh, you guys. All right. All right. Let me resume.
Or what it does as a defeater for tag at all.
If you're going to say that God gets his ontological grounding for claims in creation, then they don't come from him. They come
doesn't
from
have an God is the ultimate epistemic foundation. He doesn't have a
but without
higher
the universe,
foundation.
God can't even make logical claims.
Okay, again, I agree. Here's the thing. God, we don't know if he's like claiming stuff before he creates the universe, if he's like, because again, claims and speaking, sound perverbiating out of the mouth, making finite propositions as particular finite things. That's our understanding of making a claim. Now you're trying to take that paradigm and again, like apply it to the ultimate epistemic foundation for the possibility of those things and act like it's a one-to-one and ask questions about it. And as I conceded, I don't have exhaustive knowledge about the way God thought in eternity pre-creation. I don't have exhaustive knowledge about whether or not he was making claims between the persons of the Trinity that were not.
But you seem to think that God is constrained to only create things that follow the laws of logic. That doesn't make sense.
Nonsensical and non-referential to the reality. What I'm saying is
I was making claims before it created. Actually, didn't he say, like, in the Bible, didn't he say, let there be this and let there be that? So if that is to be taken literally, then God did make claims before he created stuff, because he was like saying, let there be stuff, and I need this and I need that. Like, if the Bible was to be followed literally, he was literally up there saying stuff, and like, I'm gonna make a thing and you need a thing, and this shall be that, and this shall be that. Oh my God, says your God isn't real. Okay. It's getting a little confusing in the chat as well lately. Okay.
Is our ability to even understand the things you're talking about at all are based on a created order that is justified in our universe by all the arguments that I've made tonight, and trying to impose. The thing is, I know your chat doesn't like this. I've read the comments, but it is a category error because you're taking something from the created order and then like putting it onto God and asking how he would relate to something within the created order when he's in the uncreated category. So
no, you were doing that. What?
It doesn't work in that way. You're citing things that the ultimate epistemic foundation created and asking how that applies to him. Well, if he created it, then he's the governor of it. He's not restrained by it.
You just said that what? That's the opposite. Okay. I give up.
Sure. I want to ask you some questions. They're kind of about the debate, but they're a little bit different.
Okay, we're almost at 10 minutes. I do want to get one more cross-examination. If you got a couple, I'll take them.
I'll do mine last.
Okay, this is just one interesting thing because I did watch some of your content. I've seen you use the Descartes' demon argument and say, well, God could be tricking you. I'm sure I would give the same response that other opponents of yours had given, which is, okay, even if I granted that, it still points to a ultimate truth. If I can be deceived, that implies that there is an ultimate truth. So that doesn't do anything for my worldview. We do believe that demonic possession is real, things like that. From your worldview, everything is
you have God could be the one doing it.
Oh, okay. Well, that would not work in our system if you were doing a true internal critique. But again, I think a sufficient answer is that if you're being deceived,
God's nature to deceive you, or
correct. That's demonic. That's what Satan does.
I mean, he does that. He sends a lying spirit to.
Okay,
he says he gave people statutes that weren't good that they couldn't follow.
I understand. Again, if you're going to do an internal critique, you have to do it you have to put on the whole paradigm and not bring in your own assessments of it. However, what I'm getting at is well, I know. Well, I'm an Orthodox Christian. I'm not sola scriptura. I go to an actual normative authority. Totally different debate, which I'm happy to have with you. Set it up with easy.
That's actually what I was going to ask you about.
Okay, well, let's get to it. I just want to finish this off. The appropriate response is if you can be deceived, that implies that there is, in fact, an ultimate truth of the matter if deception or lies is possible, which aids our paradigm. Now, if I turn this on you, though, as somebody you would agree that you get your truth claims from empiricism, right? You would call yourself an empiricist.
I suppose that my senses are giving me consistent, reliable results. Just like you have to do that for God. So I wasn't making the argument.
I didn't even finish the question. I didn't even finish the question. It was a yes or no. You're an empiricist, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so how does the secular version of that, brain in a vat, not actually completely destroy your epistemic foundation? Because if everything comes from sense data, and you could be a schizophrenic, you could be a brain in a vat, you could have all kinds of things that could actually distort. You're just taking the world as it seems to be, like Matt Dillahunty style. Like, well, it appears to be the case. That's a psychological report, and if it's even remotely possible that your psychological report could be skewed or wrong or broken in some way, then how does that not throw your whole epistemology out the window?
So there's kind of two different things to this. So I do presuppose that my senses are giving me accurate, reliable data about the world. Now you do that same thing. Now when I make the argument that a demon could, you don't presuppose that. Sorry,
I'm sorry. That's not my. I misspoke. I do presuppose that my senses are accurate, but the accuracy doesn't come from my senses. The accuracy comes from somewhere else. So I meant to. Sorry, I'm on a hair trigger right now.
That makes it sound like God's doing your thinking for you.
No, God's making my thinking possible. My senses don't.
Well, yeah, but still, like God creates the universe and creates order in that universe and whatever. But God's not doing any of the actions that you're doing when you observe the world. So you
but yeah, sorry, I jumped the gun a little bit there. I didn't even mean to move my head. I meant to think it in my head. My bad. Go ahead, continue with your line of thought.
So that's the only thing that I'm attacking. It's like, yes, but you also have to presuppose that when it's possible that God could be doing that, or that a demon could be doing that. So just when people, now you haven't done this tonight because presuppositionalism and tag comes in different varieties. You haven't done the whole thing of you can't even know anything, like the Sci-10-Bruggen-Kate and whatever approach. You haven't done that, so I haven't gone there, and I only go there when people are doing that because I think it's they're not offering something that's any better. That's the one thing, or that's
just poor representation of tag. Like, obviously, I would not say, look at this guy who's incapable of thinking, like you're some kind of vegetable. I'm saying that if your worldview is the case, you've destroyed the possibility of thinking. Now you do think, so that's why I'm saying it can't be the case.
Well, it's usually they say the possibility of knowledge, but I actually don't see
talking about the possibility of knowledge. Truth, logic, meaning, information, these things I've been citing all night are all makeup. They're all pearls on the same string of the possibility of knowledge.
Well, yeah, so then, I mean, I would just throw it back. Satan could be deceiving your mind and making you see things not for what they are. Satan could have written the Bible, and believing in the Bible is what makes you Satan can absolutely do that.
So, no, for so many reasons, and I would love to have that debate with you.
Okay, I mean that was a pretty good point. So many reasons isn't very. You could at least like throw out one basic reasons. If there's so many reasons why that's a no, could you just toss one out real quick, because that seems like a no-brainer to me. Peterson using Schaeffer's theology against him is quite smart. I am not familiar with that. I'm assuming that's what we call it, what he just did there. I mean, me no understand words.
No, again, if you're gonna presuppose something, this is so you're. I don't know if you're trying to do an internal critique. I think you're trying, but when you do an internal critique, you can't just say things like the word of God could actually be the word of Satan, because that's not our worldview. When you do an internal critique, you're supposed to put on the entire worldview of the person and then reductio ad absurdum, reduce it to absurdity on its own grounds. You're
not
saying
saying that-
the Bible. That's
not-
nowhere in your paradigm.
This isn't an internal critique. I'm not saying according to Christianity might be false. I'm saying according to the
Your
proposition,
interpretation of Christianity. So why should I care about your interpretation of Christianity?
all I'm saying is that if the devil exists, then he can deceive people.
Correct.
And he could absolutely, like, you probably think that there are false scriptures, and you just have to have faith that your scriptures are the truth. Scriptures.
Again, we have a normative authority, and this is also tag works for the whole paradigm. If again, assuming that God's real within my paradigm, Christ made a promise that the gates of hell would not prevail over the church. The church is the one that compiled the Bible. Satan is not going to infiltrate the church and manipulate the Bible in our paradigm. Now, you're making the argument that Satan exists. So in a way, you really are doing an internal critique because you're stepping out of your worldview, which doesn't presuppose a Satan, stepping into ours that does, and then making critiques about it. So you actually are doing an internal critique when you do that.
Well, we're running out of time, so we can't really get into it. But the other thing about the whole, like, the solipsistic argument or whatever, I think that it's actually kind of not the gotcha that you think it is. Because let's say that
It's a logical entailment of your worldview.
I don't know what you mean by it's possible in my worldview. Is that what you mean?
No, if I do the appropriate internal critique to your worldview, reduce it, reductio ad absurdum, it falls into solipsism. Again, because you don't believe that there's actually truth outside of your own mind. Everything is in your mind. I don't understand how that doesn't reduce to solipsism.
Well, unfortunately, we're running out of time. But anyways, the whole like you could be in the matrix, therefore everything you're experiencing, whatever, it, like, isn't real or whatever.
His normative authority is the clergy, and the clergy is authoritative because of the Bible. Heard this 1,000 times. This is Christian circularity at its finest. Yeah, I mean, it seems like it's a bunch of things that are circular. I'm sure it might be coherent within itself, but it doesn't. Yeah, it doesn't seem like sure, it can be coherent and also super circular.
I actually reject that. I would be having this debate. It's just that I would be having this debate in the matrix. Like, literally everything I know would still be true, but then there's this further layer or ultimate truth or ultimate reality that I'm not aware of. But that actually doesn't prove that any of the other things aren't actually true. So that's just kind of, I wanted to try to get 2 minutes is probably perfectly fine. So my question is, if your metaphysics and epistemology or whatever allows you to do these things that you're claiming it does, then how come Christianity is just rife with contradictions? How can that be?
Rife with contradictions. Again, this isn't deconstruction zone. I'm happy to have another debate, but I can answer it.
Biblical contradictions.
That's a claim. I think we think that there can be scribal errors, but ultimately,
that's what I'm talking about. That's what I'm talking about. I'm not talking about biblical contradictions.
So again, we're not sola scriptura. What you call a contradiction, again, this is what tag's so important.
I'm not talking about scripture. I'm not talking about being a Christian.
Let him finish what he's saying.
Forgive me.
For example, do you think the Holy Spirit proceeds only from the Father?
Yes, I don't accept the filioque.
Then how is it that the Christian worldview, which is the only worldview that can ground truth, simultaneously leads to the conclusion that the filioque is true?
Well, what Christians believe that?
Catholics.
They're not Christian.
Catholics aren't Christians? That's news to me. Okay, I mean,
I was afraid it would go there, but so sorry, you're the only denomination is the only denomination of Christianity that actually exists.
Asking an Orthodox why the heterodox.
I don't know. Is that like a no true Scotsman? I don't know. It doesn't seem. It's just so. I don't know. That threw me off. Where's the evidence for God? Did I miss something? No, it was basically this. I don't know. I don't know. I kind of regret doing this debate because it's a bunch of like pretentious, like philosophy bro, like trying to sound smarter than each other and going in circles. I don't know. This might have not been a good choice. Orthodox believe they're the only Christians. Really? I mean, I know it's like pravoslavny, as in like they're like real, like true ones, but I don't know if that really means like the only Christians in general. Like I thought it was more like they're the ones that are like the correct version of Christians. I didn't know that they considered everybody else to not even be Christians. That's wild. Now you know why someone as pretentious, smug, and arrogant as Andrew identifies as Orthodox. Yeah, that seems, yeah, that it's making sense now. It really is making sense now. Like you gotta pick the one thing where everybody else is wrong, and yeah, I mean, okay. I'm one of the few faithfully anti-Catholics. Okay. All right. The anti-Catholic churches, the Antichrist. All right. Let's see if we can finish this up.
Dogs believe what they believe.
I
That's
thought
crazy.
it would go there.
I love you Catholic viewers. I kind of mean it, but I don't. I do. I had to.
Your epistemology actually can account for truth because
it's consistent and coherent. You got to admit it's consistent,
that
right?
are logical contradictions.
Again,
You can't do it
contradictions
because
aren't possible
that
if your worldview is
denomination's the
true.
only true one.
Contradictions aren't possible if your worldview is true. 2, 1.
All right, so that
Get
is
some
an
water.
hour of open floor.
I like how Planet Peterson's like, okay, you go ahead first, and he like let Eli take up like most of the time with his questions and whatever, and he tossed a few in here. He was like, just let me have the last 2 minutes. Let me have that. And he basically got overtalked the whole time, and Eli even jumped in and got like the last word on purpose and counted down from it. Like Peterson asked for those last 2 minutes. That's all he basically all he asked for the whole time, and he still just didn't have it. That's a little cringe. It's like, come on, really? He agreed that okay, whatever, you know. He really kept like just like shoving himself in there at the end, like the whole like, oh, you can't talk 2-1, okay, done, bye. Like, really, it comes down to this now. Oh my goodness. Speaking of Candace Owens, she's been going against the war and everything, which is nice. I don't agree with her on quite a few things, but I think I tend to lean in her direction on the Charlie situation and the Erica thing for sure. And the whole like everything is fake and gay is kind of funny. What? All right. Yeah, I think we're gonna call it a night. It is a Monday after all, and I would like to maybe grab a snack and like finish out that first run at least of the Force Doctrine thing. I'm so close. I'm like this close to the end of it. So I do kind of want to finish that before I go to bed and then do another run through tomorrow of the whole hour kind of faster after I'm done and schedule it and then be done with it. It's gonna feel so good. But yep, I think that's pretty much it for tonight. I do appreciate everybody hanging out. It's been fun. It's been fun. We'll try to do something. Oh, these are cute. I like those. Oh, good night. Good night, everybody. Thank you. And I'll try to figure out the whole weekend thing for at least like an experimental panel, and we'll try to do something like that. We can do tag or anything, whatever. And then I'll probably do another I'm gonna probably do another stream sometime this week before the weekend. That's more of like a regular one, kind of like this. And then we'll do one weekend one for an experimental panel. And if those do go well and there's enough interest, well, the first one, since it's experimental, we'll do like, I'm not gonna charge money or anything. But I think if we want to do panels, it's more like I might do something like you might have to donate to be on it or something like that. Because it's like extra things for me to do, and it's already kind of like more of at this point it's the amount of time I spent on this stuff and the amount of return it gets is not even close. So we might have to do something for panels. It's even if it's like $5 or something, we might have to do something like that. But the first one is not going to be, since it's experimental, I'm not going to do anything like that for the first one at least. So if you really want to do one and you don't want to like donate for it or anything, try to make the first one, I guess. But we can discuss it more on the next stream. Next stream will be just like this, regular, and we can see kind of like if anyone has a specific topic ideas besides tag for it, or like favorite days or whatever, something like that. We'll discuss more. So yeah. Oh, you have a good night as well, and thank you as well. The nation can keep trolls away too, just in case. Yeah, I mean it is. So the first one is going to be like I would have to have seen you before at least. It's not going to be just anybody that can come on. I would have to kind of have seen you before in the chat and be sort of familiar with who you are. But the next ones, it's because if it's just anybody and anybody comes on, those ones don't seem to do well. They're always a mess, and yeah, like nobody does it like that. So it would be crazy for me to try. Just we're gonna play tag. Oh, it is possible. You know, Facebook used to have this poking thing where you would poke other people, and technically that's very close to tagging, except like you tag usually with the palm of the hand or like the fingertips together versus like one finger is poking. So I don't know. Facebook used to do something similar, so it's not completely out of the question. You know what? It's late. I'm gonna give up now before I say anything else stupid. My goodness. Oh no. Okay. Well, good night, everybody. I shall see you next time. Thank you for hanging out, and thanks for hanging out with me in the chat and everything. It's always nice to hear y'all's thoughts. And okay, thank you. Bye. Good night.